Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be doing a starting steps as Vijayanagar, one of the strongest tags in the game, trying to get through the first 50 years, but maybe we'll get through the first of 40. They have, for their bonuses, a few really notable ones. The proximity cost probably being the strongest one they just get in the advanced tree. They do have a rather good policy. We'll cover it in a second. They get a little bit of levy size, so they have a little bit of punching power early, especially with high pop. They get cavalry power and arty power and a little bit of discount on the build cost, and towards the late game, they do get some estate satisfaction equilibrium. But another thing that is really good is the Bund, a unique building that kind of lets you ignore food. If you have multiple of these, they are very strong. They have to be near a river or adjacent to a lake, but percentage food production, this really allows you to overcome what you are getting in terms of the malice from having a place urbanized. And then on top of this, when you stack a ton of pops, you're going to have a decent amount of pops just doing subsistence farming and as peasants. And so you really can just build over, basically, you could urbanize basically all the food tiles and still not run out of food as a consequence of this building, as long as you have a lot of rivers in the region, which you do as India. It's a very strong building. And the population capacity actually increases your overall pop growth, / lets you grow beyond your other normal capacity. Plus 5,000 is not insane, but it's also not nothing to sneeze at when you get to a plus 10 boons. So really kind of a subtle top-end device here in the boon that is quite strong. We also get a little bit from our culture, gaining some unique units. They get a little bit more, initiative. And so this is fairly nice, but then they suffer a little bit on some other ends. I do believe the other units are strictly better. Yeah, the regulars are strictly better. The levies that you get are not. You get them in ages 1, 3, and 5, both a regular unit and a levy, which is kind of an interesting sort of curve. So you power spike on the 3rd age a little bit slightly, but this isn't not the biggest bonus. Plus 2 initiative and minus 10%. Actually, minus 10% damage is pretty strong on the strength damage taken. So, more than happy to be receiving that. The unique barracks type building isn't all that strong, but in the first few ages, it really is a sizable thing with the plus 33% levy size on top of the plus 10% levy size that they have. They don't really have natural enemies that are that worrisome in the early ages, like the loud car might worry you if you hear it coming towards your house, but this is going to be something that you could leverage into a bit of an advantage. It has to be built in an urban area, but who are we kidding? You're going to be building it in an urban area anyways, because you're going to urbanize everything. An interesting note, though, here on this building is it adds 50 nobles. Nobles, in particular, do consume a lot of goods, so this actually might be net positive for the economy. You create buy orders for all these things. You have to pay for 20% of them, but then you create extra buy orders by virtue of creating nobles. Kind of a little bit of an interesting thing that is maybe worth pointing out on this building because it is employing nobles. Let's jump in and take a look at the tax bonus. I almost forgot. I need my click the button and get into game fixed. We got to get that flashbang going on as we jump in. So we can just pull up very quickly the law that we're talking about in administrative, which is Rajya, which is 10% tax efficiency. Now, I'm not 100% sure this is better than the Confederal Union one, which is kind of the opportunity cost of what is the best vanilla one, but you don't get the Confederal Union one until later, and you have this at the very start, so this is a pretty big advantage. Before, this used to be a 20% tax efficiency bonus, so it has been nerfed down to a 10%, at which point, with 20%, it's definitely going to be way better than 5% proximity, but this is a little bit of a trade-off. You could probably go either way, but it is going to be very, very strong relative to what other people would have in the opener, which is probably going something like a central councils. So let's talk about our situation geographically. We are close enough to the Mamluks / Egypt to be able to pull institutions from there, and we are just about as far as you can possibly get to in the second age and still be able to do this in a pretty robust way. With that said, we have the advantage of the East, which is a lot of pops, a whole lot of pops. It's really hard to underemphasize just how valuable this is, but just kind of doing a short summary here here, we can build all of our buildings to higher levels, allowing us for more output bonuses and also to stack more premium buildings in our urban locations. We can build more manpower buildings because the amount you can build scales with pop, and also we have more levies. And so both militarily and economically, population is insane. The kind of downside of being in the east is a troublesome kind of access to institutions, but Egypt's right there. So with that said, you also have about as many pops overall in all of India as China does. You just have 40 million in Delhi, but there's all these kind of pops scattered around all over the place elsewhere in all these other cities, and it does get pretty close to there. And now, in terms of our situation topographically, vegetatively, we have two really big veins on a macro sense for being able to push control. One through here, kind of through central India, where we don't have too restrictive of either vegetation or topography, and then one here along the river up in the north. From this, you can, as long as you have access to the river or kind of this internal area some way, you will have a pretty good spot, and so decent capital choice would be here, decent capital choice would be up here, and then maybe you can do something on the perimeter in terms of going naval, but you don't have the best natural harbors, so probably going to be a land-based operation. With that said, the resources you have are just absolutely insane. You have a little bit of premiums, so there's a little bit of gold down here. There's some silver up in the north up here, but you also have the kind of third premium that most people don't have, is the elephants. Base price of 10, you can't trade it very well, so the price does tend to collapse. You build a bunch of it, you don't have enough demand for it, your pops eat it, you build the elephant farms where you harvest ivory, but this is going to collapse in price. But even still, 10 base price once collapsed, it's still going to produce a very large amount of tax-based contribution, and so this is going to be quite strong. Coming back to the resources, we also have kind of the premium pluses or the medium premiums, just like that guy's engine. It's not the best engine, but it's, what he could bring. You're going to have stuff like the silk, you are going to have the cotton. This is going to be pretty valuable, a whole lot of cotton. You're going to have a decent chunk of iron, a little bit less of the kind of rare minerals like copper, what is it? They're so rare we can't remember them, but don't have too many of these in our portion down here. There is a few of them up here. We have like the lead up here, the alum up here, these types of things, but we're also going to, man, that guy's chasing the car. We're also going to have stuff like gems in a couple spots, dyes, and so generally speaking, we have some pretty good premiums. Or not premiums, but the mid-high kind of tier resources where you're going to have like base price for. But per the really kind of the most standout thing, even more so than the elephants in the room, is going to be the spices. The spices are kind of a premium alongside gold and silver because they trade for half the trade cost. And so you can really trade them extraordinarily well, make really profitable routes. And there's so many like pepper prices or pepper locations that I don't even want to count them all to make a demonstration. There's a lot. You've got eyes, I've got eyes. We can see that there's a lot of pepper there. And so this is going to be really good for you and really strong overall for Vijayanagar in terms of setting up your run. But perhaps the most defining characteristic of Vijayanagar is the province thing, which is your provinces have 14 locations, 15 locations, 11 locations. Terrible. What is this? 9 locations. 9 locations. Wow, so small. 6, actually small. 14 locations, 15 locations. All of this. And this really pairs nicely when you consider the fact that you get production bonuses for having these resources when they are inputs for a thing in a province. So our starting province, our starting capital province of Kopal here, or not Kopal, this is not Kopal, this location's Kopal, but what you have here, you have cotton, you have gold, and you have fiber crops. So this means you're going to get a production bonus on jewelry, both of the fine cloth and the regular cloth, paper in the early game, and then as you get into the later game, naval supplies, this type of thing, all in one province. If we come to this province here, we're going to have in here cotton, right? There's a little bit of cotton here, and then we're also going to have iron. So we are going to have all of the iron buildings, you're going to have a production bonus, and then also the textiles. And this kind of holds true as we click on every single province. Here we have both of the cotton and some lumber. This is one of the worst provinces as it relates to this type of thing. Here we have iron, sturdy grains, cotton, all these kinds of things. And so this is going to be really, really good for urbanizing. And as we mentioned before with the Bund, we can urbanize a whole lot of things. Now, there's not a lot of food in here, but the food we do have is this. And we have sturdy grains. The sturdy grains, okay, it's not the best, but with the Bund, they work just fine. You're going to get an enormous percentage bonus on all of these. You're probably going to urbanize all of them, and things are going to be good. Just to be clear, that's the wrong tooltip. That's the wrong tooltip. That's the right one. This is the river map mode. There's a ton of rivers all over the place, and that's where we can build the boon. So any place we have a combination of food and also a river is going to go quite hard, and also we're going to get all that juicy proximity from urbanizing almost everything, building pound lock canals, building bridges, and having them on the rivers. And so really we are going to have an enormous power base here, kind of in this portion of India that has this massive clearing. I do think this is probably the good place to play out of if you are going to play Vijayanagar. And so let's jump in. Alright, before we get started, just want to note two things. Our tax base is 84, and we are making 19 ducats in terms of our net. This is going to go way up on both counts very quickly. So just wanted to draw some attention to it. Alright, so we are going to adjust the sliders how we normally like them, put all of the automations in on the tax, and also increase the minting here. And then coming over to a cabinet, we're going to abuse the increased control cabinet action. This cabinet action is just insanely strong if you are willing to micro it around and move this in circles, but it's extremely strong on Vijayanagar because you can upkeep 5 provinces with higher control, like plus 50 control, and so when those provinces each have 10 locations, that's like 50 locations having a bunch of extra control. We're also going to change societal value towards centralization. We actually start off with some centralization, but a negative trend towards decentralization, and so we're going to look to halt this in its place and then eventually push towards centralization, kind of par the course of what we do with most countries in terms of our opener. To that end, we have the very annoying communal lands as our kind of thing that we want to get rid of towards the decentralization, and that by itself should put us to the point where we're not going to lose any more centralization to this, and we can kind of take our time getting back over to things. A little bit of defining characteristics for us is we are going to have Jain scholars, going to be nice research early, can't convert clerics, not a big deal, and we are going to have Jain banking rights, can't convert burghers. This one's kind of bad, but it's bad in a very benign way, where we're probably just going to leave it in for forever because it's not worth taking the stab hit. Other than that, we kind of don't have anything too crazy going on. We could slot in right away building roads rights, but this wouldn't actually move us anywhere because we already have centralization. And so if we slot in anything over here, it's going to be our very favorite treasury rights, giving us a 10% tax efficiency. Already we can smell the more ducats, buckets of ducats. Now, these guys are upset with us, big upset, so we will give a couple privileges to them. We'll give common militias, and we maybe want to go serfdom this game. This is, well, probably not. We're probably not going to go serfdom, but it is an interesting thought. The reason we're not going to go serfdom is because we're going to really urbanize quite a lot, but we wouldn't mind hanging out towards serfdom for kind of an extended period of time. I do think we might already have the serfdom nobles privilege already slot in. If we don't, we can slot it in, and this will kind of halt our progress. We will slot it in. Don't mind consuming less food. We probably want this in anyways, and so with this here, we will be able to maintain the max tax that we have at game start here, even if we plan on going away from this, because the more locations we urbanize, the worse this is going to get, because the max tax for peasants is better when you have a lot of rural areas. So But this is going to be fine enough early on, and we aren't in too bad of shape in terms of what we've done with the estates. With our additional reform, I think we're going to do what we normally do, and the same thing we do every night, and that's take over the world. But also, just wait 5 years, because there are better reforms in kind of the coming years, so we won't be doing anything here. And also just wanted to note, we did choose these cabinet members because they are part of the crown estate, and so taking a look at our crown power in an immediate sense, we just put in 12.5%, 12.5%. This hasn't taken into account the fact that we've unpaused yet. Traditional distribution, yuck. And so as we unpause, we will have this kind of spike up to probably over 25, getting rid of the tax efficiency malice, and so just from the get-go, we will have 25% tax efficiency, which is quite strong to have in the opener. Regarding tech, we are going to first go for the research speed, and then we are going to go right for construction speed. We're probably actually going to be able to make decent use of this construction speed, and none of this is extraordinarily good early on. We will definitely want institution growth, but we don't need it before institutions have spawned, so that's what our research is going to look like. And here is probably the most important thing here. We don't have very good market access. We are in the middle of 3 other markets. We have something like 50% market access, 49, 47. It is absolutely imperative we make our own market here, and so this is what we're going to do. We are going to create a market, and we're going to create it in Vijayanagar. Technically, I kind of like it a little bit better in Raichur. However, Raichur is too far away from Mecca to be able to, or I think it's Mecca that we can pull to. Raichur is just a little bit further from where we can pull, such that it actually makes a difference. I do think I like this better as both a capital and a market, but also we get a unique building in Vijayanagar that only works if we have it as our capital, so we're going to make the market here, and we're probably going to keep the capital here for the duration of the game. So remember what we said about this is 84. When we unpause and take the next month, we're going to see 2 really big things. 1, this 22%, that frown's going to turn upside down, and 2, this 84 is going to probably roughly double. And our income is going to shoot up because all the trades will also go in because of the automation on the trades. So taking a look at things, let's take a look how this shakes out. Hey, it did double. Hey, that went up to 52. That's amazing. And hey, that went up to 24. So everything even just... Oh, wait, we haven't even made the market yet. Dog, we haven't even made the market yet. Why did it spike up so high? Who knows? But we will take a look at ba-boom. And what happens now? It comes back down? That sounds like a lie to me. And it's back up again. So this is kind of the starting situation for us. We probably should have spent a little bit of our ducats, but we wanted to give that little bit shown off, and we will be giving our character a nice legitimacy boost. Wow, that's so good. This legitimacy boost, the thing is our biggest expense is cost of court. Our cost of court is helping to offset this legitimacy loss of base 1. We are getting, at this juncture, 0.2 in progress. This is going to give us an additional 0.5, and so this is going to mean that our only cost that we have is going to be greatly diminished. Now, as it relates to kind of what we should do at the end, at the beginning, we are going to put in a bunch of changes here and delete some forts, and so we'll be back to show it off. Alright, so we put in the most premium things that we could find in terms of income in our urban areas, and then we expanded the most premium RGOs. Nothing too crazy. We would have built a road between Vijayanagar and Raichur, but there already is one, so that is quite nice. We're probably going to look to connect the road over to the elephants and the gold in the near-ish future, because if we take a look at the tax base, here's what's going on with the tax base. So, generally speaking, in openers, it's a good idea if you have any place that has decent tax base near the capital to connect those via roads. So that is going to be on our radar. The next couple things we're going to buy as we get like each month of income is probably going to be taking a look if we need lumber mill, masonry, or sand in order to kind of set ourselves up for other expands. So a sand pit and this type of thing. So what we'll do here, in order to check those types of things, we're going to come into the market and we'll go lumber, and we'll see, hey, what can we expect for the lumber price to do? Well, we have a huge glut of lumber. We don't need any of that ish. We could go masonry, see, hey, we actually don't quite have enough masonry. We probably want to add a little bit more of that, and then see sand. I don't think we have any sand in the market. We have a huge demand for sand. That is actually really big. That is so much. We have so much glass guilds. Holy hell. So, this is actually sufficiently large that we maybe want to say, hey, we're not going to build any sand pits. We're just going to build slightly more expensive roads, because that is quite an ask in terms of increasing things. Our auto queue will eventually pick up some sand pits over time, but that is quite a lot. Maybe we should have even opened, because sand's going to get expensive, but we won't concern ourselves too much with that. So I guess it's going to look like masonry into expanding the roads over here into our premium resources and just generally all our other resources. We just wanted to get the first RGO cooking, because by getting the first one set in, we can get the pop promotions on the laborers already going, and these resources are valuable enough that the road isn't worth more than getting the promotions going. So we weren't planning on cooking any of our neighbors, but we really high roll an insult from these guys, or at least I think it's a high roll. Maybe you get this normally. We're going to insult them right back to dip them below 50 of the improved opinion, and then we are going to go to war. And so it looks like they added some allies, but we have more than enough military strength to fight everyone, and so we're going to declare ourselves a war, and this will be nice for us. So we're going to mobilize everyone. This should be a fairly straightforward war, because people don't have any of the... They haven't really built forts yet, but we can look at the war map mode to see who it is we're fighting, and this is kind of nice actually that we're fighting down here, because looking at this, we do kind of want to get a little bit more access on the coast and maybe get some trade capacity on here, because I do believe this place will get access a little bit earlier or without modifiers to Alexandria, if I recall correctly. There's maybe some difficulties with Vijayanagar. I have to... It's been a while since we played this run specifically, and so this is maybe an opportunity for us. We can subjugate both of these guys, probably by the looks of it, but we're going to have and take this kind of war, just probably pouncing on their armies and then subjugating them quick. Something we can also do to save on masonry is, on the short term, turn off the granaries until we get our economy up and going. We just want to have the most stuff be as explosive as possible. It's looking like we don't have military access there to this guy, and we can't really get it that easily. So that is going to create a bit of an unfortunate circumstance where we can't reach him. So what we're going to do is, when we piece this guy out, we're probably going to take as much as we can from the other party that this piece will allow, because it looks like we could just get this. That's it. That's so sad. We could release a subject there, I suppose. That's not too... It's also like 10 infamy, so I think we're probably going to go for the fiefdom. And this is another characteristic. We have our unique subject types, and these get really disloyal really fast. So we're going to go with fiefdoms and try not to have more of the other one. I believe the Samantha can be annexed. No, they cannot. One of these guys can be annexed. These guys can be annexed. Maybe we want these guys as the premium, and the other people will come in as a subject. It's the same cost for this no matter what we do, but we will do the discount things where we will slide up on our Diplo slider to max, and then we will swap one of our cabinet actions on over to our diplomacy thing. And so what this will do is it will decrease the amount of antagonism this gives us, because we will have more diplomatic reputation, and it only matters for when we sign the peace deal, so this will make it so that the other members are a little bit less upset. I don't think we're going to get into the other guy. I think we just don't want to take that one location for a ton of extra antagonism, and you can see that we get almost no antagonism on a lot of these other guys. We get in the 20s on 3 members, and then in the 30s on this guy who's going to be a subject, but he won't care anymore because he will be a subject. We'll go for war reparations as well, and that will be a nice little opener war for us. We'll remember to pull off the 2 things that we put up. Never forget to pull off, and we will swap these back. So already a pretty good open in terms of how things have turned out. I think we're going to be in pretty good shape, especially because now it's always nice to have antagonism decaying, because if you're not using your antagonism decay, you are of course losing it. Little bit of a silly willy on me, we were supposed to declare rivals before we did this as well, because this also increases the amount of, or decreases the amount of antagonism you take. Delhi's going to fall apart either way, so we will go after them, and then the Maldives, lol. So we should have done this, and we would have taken even less antagonism. But let's take a look at Paul Allen's GDP. We started with 80 GDP, or tax base. Now we are tripled, and we are 1 year into the game, and the tax base has tripled. And our income went from 17 to 75. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. And it's not like this is an aberration. It's not like this is going to suddenly go down to half as much. It's not like we're going to lose opportunities. In fact, we still have opportunities for profitable buildings. We built one building. We built 2 buildings, but look at this. 5 ducats, 4 ducats, 8 ducats. We have to build so many buildings in order to get these to be not profitable. And this is really the value, economically speaking, of having all these pops, is they eat a ton of goods. And as they eat a ton of goods, they make a ton of economic activity, so we are going to continue to pop off. Alright, so we hit our first parliament, we stockpile a bunch of money just in case we roll something where we want to have a bank to spend, and we do roll something where we want to have a bank to spend, which is expand gravel road network. To be fair, we could go promote urbanization and get a town, but this only gives us 6 support. This gives us 46%, and is that town even in a spot we want a town? That's maybe a little bit of a consideration. I think that we just want the extra support. It's in Goody. Well, we could at least take a look here. That isn't... Wait, what? There's already a town there. In fact, we were thinking of getting rid of the town. Oh, Akiri becomes a town. A silk in the middle of the mountains. I don't think so. So we will be going for expand gravel road network, and we had saved up this money so we could spend it in case we rolled something like this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to build roads to all of our premiums. If you can see here, we do have, or we will have, a collapsed price of both lumber and masonry, and then the sand we're ignoring because it would cost us like 2,000 gold to collapse this price, and we want to establish really, really good proximity, which is kind of the thing to look for. The control is all wonky because of our cabinet action, but the proximity is really kind of telling the real story here in terms of how close everything is to the capital, what the infrastructure looks like. And so we'll go all the way to the elephants here. We'll go to the pepper as well. So that is quite a lot on the roads. And then I think we want to link up with this iron, and with that we have spent most of the money. We have spent most of the money. I suppose we could go to the fiber crops as well here, and that is all the money, but that is going to give us a lot more proximity over the land that we own here. Now, with that said, we do have buttons to click, and maybe not a lot. So, this is a little bit of a tough decision. The thing is, we actually want to pass expand gravel road network, and we only have 2 estates with which to work with. We can get another 30 support here, so we're not that far. So as long as one of these has a rollable thing, we'll be able to work with that. But what about using, do we already have Elite Council? We do. Do we have the version of Elite Council which gives a little bit of extra support? We do have agenda impact on both these guys, so this is the best we're going to get. We have currently positive centralization, but that's coming from our cabinet action and the fact that we are running a parliament, and so we would not if we took those things off. So what we want to do is we want to change our distribution of power. We're also caring about this crown power, and so let's take a look at what we could do on that front. So let's increase opinion, hope we roll something good. Serfdom support, we're fine with that considering we're rolling serfdom. So let's ask for a law change, and we are going to change our distribution of power. Currently traditional distribution, this is giving us decentralization. We want to get off of it, and also it's messing with our crown power. It's giving us a little legitimacy, but I think that we have kind of 2 options here. We can go favor the ruler, which I think will be better earlier, and it will give us all max tax. Right now, the tax on the peasants is reasonably good, although I don't think we have enough satisfaction for the peasants to really enable us to make use of 5% max tax on them. So maybe there's an argument for favor the wealthy, the idea being we are going to be able to get more out of the burger tax than we would the 5% all max tax, but we forego the crown power. I really like just the general play pattern of favoring the ruler for a little bit and then swapping to favor the wealthy, mainly because we're going to do this, mainly because we don't want to dip under 20% crown power or 25% crown power and start getting the malice, and this goes a long way towards helping that. So if we let 1 month pass, we should get a bump to maybe 27 crown power, something like this. And so with that in, that'll help us out. We do get a nice little roll there, and we do want to click for serfdom support. We had meant to do that, and so that's pretty good. Central Council is actually really good. However, our administrative policy is our unique one, which is much better. So that is probably going to be it for us for this. I think we're just going to let this tick towards the centralization. We actually are even pushing a little bit of centralization for now. And so after we succeed this, we're probably freed up on the cabinet action. And I don't think there's actually something we can push that we want to push. This is incredibly early for reaching that scenario, because here's what's going to happen. This is going to go to... We're going to let it tick a couple times, but this is going to go towards 31-ish, and then the cabinet action won't matter here, because it'll just be 0.03, or actually without the cabinet action it's probably decreasing, isn't it? Our cabinet action is giving 0.16, and so yeah, it will actually start trending towards decentralization without the cabinet action here, because we have 0.16 trending it towards the left, and then also 0.1 trending it towards the left from the parliament. So maybe we have to leave that cabinet action in. But pretty sick, we have a pretty early proximity cost reduction and 10% ground power here. Going to be very nice for us, especially with these roads coming in. The roads being significant because they help to increase proximity, which helps to increase control, and control in locations gives you positive crown power. So this is helping us to stay in high crown power, as is the cabinet action for increased control, giving us 100 max control in all these locations, being very, very silly because it's applying to an enormous province. We're going to keep shuffling that around. So something we are doing with the masonry specifically is, since clay is an input for masonry, we're only building it in locations that are in provinces that have clay, which incidentally is almost every single one of our provinces. Very nice. We are going to get our unique building, the Library of Vijayanagar, which is going to give us monthly progress towards humanist, which is kind of an interesting modifier. I think we have a ton of spiritualist progress, so this isn't going to really do anything on that front. A little bit of max tax to the location, but 5% of monthly research speed. We're pretty happy to have that, and so that will be something that we get. Now, what we have going on here is we're building the masonry because we're trying to get the price of masonry low, because we are all ready to start building cities, building towns. In fact, it's already low. So let's talk about what we were going to talk about, which is, this is an awkward sort of thing where we want to not urbanize the iron and the gems. However, the way the cookie crumbles in terms of how proximity often gets drawn from Vijayanagar is such that there's like no way you can like justify not going for on this river, Pound Lock Canal, this type of thing, because virtually every single direction you go, like in order to go north, see for example, we're going to end up going through this location, into some of these tall locations here, and up this way. And in order to go to the right, we are going to need to go through this location, and really that's going to end up being a ton of the territory we get. And so even though we want to keep this rural so that we get plus 100% building level, we're going to end up urbanizing it. And on top of this, part of the fact is we can just urbanize way, way more on Vijayanagar in order to justify this. Also, something to keep in mind with the pops is you can't have pop growth if you're overpopulated. So this is another reason to not urbanize immediately. And so, or sorry, to urbanize a little bit early. This place is already pop capped. And so we're going to upgrade this. Another one is, for the very same reason, this gem's also awkward, but it is the fastest way over through here, and that is going to be along a river. So the fastest way to the coast is along this river here, where we want to build cities. We just want to stack cities, and so the gems, even though we want the gems to stay rural so we can get more levels, it's not a super premium resource, so we're going to upgrade that as well. The sturdy grains and the legumes, we do not care about it at all, and since these are bordering the capital, we are going to look to upgrade them. We're going to see if any are on rivers. They are a couple on rivers, so I guess we'll start with the legumes in here. Actually, no, let's not start with the legumes. Let's take a look at this and say, hey, this place is overpopulated. We'll start with here. So we will have coming in 2 new urban locations, which we're going to start building in. We're going to keep, as long as these guys have any available burgers, we're going to keep them going, but with 100 ducats a month, we have more than enough money to keep these 2 cities going constantly, and so we'll add the towns on for good measure. In fact, we'll probably take a look and think through, we probably want to upgrade this fruit as well, although fruit is in relatively high demand in this area because we have a lot of pops that actually consume fruit. We have a decent amount of fruit, and we can build fruit out of, it's something that grows on trees. You know what I mean? Money doesn't grow on trees. Fruit does grow on trees. We can build fruit orchards. And so we can handle it that way, but also I've introduced you to the Middle East, which is like all fruit. And this is the place we want to import from anyways, so it's not as important. So we'll probably upgrade the fruit there as well as soon as we are able to maintain enough building to be building in all of these urban locations as long as they have available promotions. And then I suppose we can go for the this as well. We can generally, maybe a livestock thing is something we'd want to leave unupgraded, but we free up the population growth here, and we're going to have more than enough food with our unique building. So we're going to be going after these locations where we do have shortages, and we'll do the clay as well here, and so, or shortages of space for the pops, and so this will allow us to maximize our pop growth as the time kind of proceeds. And they're all in the scrum close to Vijayanagar, which is what we want anyways, which as closer to the capital as possible is going to be nice because those places will have more control, although every place is going to have high control because of our cabinet action we're using. So this is an event we've only ever seen in India. You maybe spawned it in China. It may be just a high pop event, but it gives you free dev and forces you to build an irrigation building, or free dev. You pay for the dev, but this is really a very low price to pay for half a dev, and so we will be going with that. These places, just as things stand currently as it relates to dev, not the highest, but we might end up using dev province here, especially once we get to 42 and we slot in our thing. I think we might switch to dev province, and by our thing I mean our government reform we're waiting to put in here. We do get kind of a high masonry price, so that's not going to be a good time to upgrade this, but let's talk through this. I think that okay, so by now we've had several runs and we've gone literally administrative focus every single time. I think administrative focus is just like way better. It's considerably better. There's a lot of stuff in here that's good. Just about everything in here is good. And in particular, as someone who has a lot of proximity cost reduction, which is a really strong modifier, the more of it you have, the better of it gets. So we are going to go administrative focus, unsurprisingly, or this should not be too surprising. But also, now that the next stage has brought in new government reforms, we can slot in what we wanted, which is royal decrees. This gives us centralization, and with the centralization, what we are going to have is a positive trend towards this, or once this finishes slotting in, we're going to have a positive trend towards centralization. I wish we could swap this thing right now. We actually just have to wait a month. And the reason being is currently we are getting a trend of 16 from our cabinet action, so we have to keep that at least neutral, and so we're waiting for this to trend up to 16 by virtue of this starting to build up and be efficacious, because it does take time to get fully implemented. So I think we're waiting for the 20% here for it to be 2% implemented, and now we can swap our cabinet action. So let's swap away from changing societal values, and instead let's develop province, which is the forbidden one, which has it's the uber nerfed one. We're gonna first just see which province has more locations in it. This is kind of a quicker way to check. I said this is a quicker way to check, 11, and then this one has 10. So I think it's just Rachel Doab. Rachel Doab also leads to more things, and it also has gold in it. So I think we're probably pretty happy to, not this one, we're pretty happy to develop province in Rachel Doab. Generally a cabinet action that's kind of on the weaker side, unless you are playing a coastal nation and it's on the capital where you're going out from, but it will be giving us more gold, pepper, and also 20% of the development we get is going to be going into proximity cost reduction, so this will be something that's not a zero factor, but also this is going to be the only development we're getting right now because we don't have that much prosperity yet, so that's going to be nice. Prosperity is maybe going to be a problem for us. We don't have super high satisfaction. Are we generating prosperity? Not a whole lot. We're getting a little bit from market fairs. This is kind of the classic, you need to find something that gives you prosperity early. I don't think we have that good of options. I could have sworn we might have had a tech. I think I'm confusing Vijayanagar with someone who has it all. Except they do have it all. This is going to be a challenge that we want to solve just so we get the development rolling in this area. So, and normally you don't solve it until you get banking. That's kind of late. Normally, in terms of putting things off, the thing is we eventually get bureaucracy, and then you get decentralized bureaucracy, which in itself has progress towards decentralization, which is kind of an expensive modifier. So really would love to find other things to give prosperity. I suppose tolerance of the true faith in some sort of sense would give it, because satisfaction is a driver of this, and so you can see it's giving negative prosperity based on lack of satisfaction. So if we got a bunch of tolerance of true faith, that would do it too. So, in terms of your runs, just know that this is a little RNG heavy, a Gathering Storm. We are going to side against Delhi in the Fall of Delhi situation. Specifically, Bahmani can either become our subject when it breaks away from the Sultanate of Delhi, or our rival. And you can roll one way or the other. I think you can save scum it. I haven't really tested this sort of theory. We might save scum it just to kind of show off the strong version, but just know if you don't want to save scum it, you could also just restart, because we're 5 years into the game, and this is something that is going to be a major factor, because Bahmani is huge. Having them as a subject would be a nice feather in our cap. Hey. Bahmani pops out, and I think we have an event on the next month tick, giving us some action. We have also started to found more cities in order to give them some population space. Sale of tithes, that's not something related to Bahmani. That's a lie. But okay, I guess there's not this related to Bahmani, so we are going to be at the mercy of how the RNG floats. So should we save scum this? I think we might save scum this. We might get this on the first shot, but we're going to save either way. That way we get the good ending regarding us and Bahmani, because I do think it probably resets, because a lot of events do seem to be reset driven. So we'll see what we get. So for our tech, we are going to beeline Sutra. I do think we have another source of research speed in here, but this goes through found city rights and also maximum RGOs in towns and cities. Max RGOs, these are things we are going to be able to make use of. The Eastern Tech Tree does tend to have some goodies like this, increased research speed. We see another one here, Source of Knowledge. We'll put that one in as our next go. We could come back for this proximity, but I don't think we need the proximity in an immediate fashion. I think we might actually benefit a little bit more from structured society giving us a little bit of its state equilibrium, and then we'll come from the proximity impact here. In terms of things that we are going to go through to get all this, we do see have prosperity recovery, which is quite nice. In areas with negative prosperity, we have some naval morale, some stuff for subjects, including Diplo annex cost. We're going to probably be annexing that guy as quickly as possible. A little bit of improved relations action, and that should round things out for us for the foreseeable future here. So this here is the low roll, a Muslim nemesis, where we will get an insulted CB onto Bahmani. Let's see what the good one looks like. So when we last went to war, we had like 25 to 33,000 levies. Now we have 41,000 just from this cabinet action for the most part. We've built some infrastructure, but it's not that much infrastructure. So we are just going to get this massive stack together. We're going to put in a guy, a dude, if you will, and we will have at them. It is show superiority, so we're just going to put our stack on top of their capital and then just say, where are you, dog? As soon as we see any army, we're just going to chase it down. We maybe want to situate in the middle of all of our guys. I don't think we want to spread out, just in case he has... Wait, what is this? Bro, do you have anything? Oh, he's currently fighting VJ too? Or sorry, no, VJ Delhi? Yeah, okay, well, just kidding then. I think we will split up our guys. We will split up over here. We'll keep them reasonably close to each other. That way, if we see someone coming, we can maybe make some moves. But this should be pretty straightforward for us. We'll get a pretty fat occupation. I think that, yeah, this is just going to be us occupying him, at least the southern portion, staking our claim on it. If this is all we get, it's still quite a bit of land. We definitely want to get the entirety of this province here. That is this. would be very, very nice. It is the capital province for him, so I think we will be able to take it because we're standing on top of the capital right now. This one would be nice as well. Probably release a subject. Ideally, we would want to subjugate them, but I don't think that's anywhere near in the cards in terms of a peace deal where... Yeah, 400. So we're probably going to have to satisfy ourselves with just a couple of provinces. Really bad timing for him. And then, the capital of our rival. Do we want to raise it to the ground and get 1k gold? Well, we want it eventually, so we'll just take the prestige here. But that's good for us. We'll head on up that way. But we probably... Can we go for this? Yeah, so we can go for a whole bunch of this. We're still looking for any sort of territory he has. This war might be rather long. Looks like the Sultanate of Delhi got some stuff. We're not fighting the Sultanate of Delhi. Was that just because we... Oh, because they were there first. Womp womp. Who... Is that the province capital? Surely their actual capital province is the provincial capital. Okay. So fair enough. This is probably getting sieged by him too. So this is just kind of... an exercise in just kind of clean up here as the rest of this war is, so we'll be back with the peace deal. So with our parliament here, unfortunately we don't have too many good laws to change. We are stuck on traditional law. This is an East versus West thing. I think where you generally in the West you get a few people that don't have traditional law only, but we have traditional law only, and so we're kind of hamstrung by our decentralization trend. We would be able to unlock that a little bit if we went central councils, but the tax efficiency is just too nice, and so we can't afford to go itinerant court, even though this is what we want to go. Balanced court's a little bit better, but with that kind of the way it is, we probably don't want to change anything. We could go for some peasant to state satisfaction equilibrium. I do think we have relatively low satisfaction on these states. We could go for max tax on the peasants, but I don't think we're even fully utilizing our tax on the peasants, so the max tax on them would not be useful for us in any case. We could go for some censorship change, kind of do like limited censorship though, and so we end up having like not a lot of things to click with our parliament that we are interested in clicking with, because we also have a CB against Mabar. Now to be fair, we could grab another CB, so I think that's probably what we end up using, because we have to expend somehow, and we're probably going to get 100, and then we're not going to know what to click overall here. We could go for max tax, but we're not really that set up for max tax, because we don't have enough peasant satisfaction anywhere near enough to make use of it. So maybe the serfdom is gratuitous, because we can't even make use of what we have. I don't know if we can want it long term, because we're urbanizing, and if we get off of it, we can benefit a lot from additional tax from the peasants. The thing is the additional tax from the peasants costs us one of two resources, right? And those resources are either free subject trend, if we want to stay serfdom, we can't get that, or decentralization trend, which we can't afford anymore because we're trending we're trending 0.7 towards centralization, 0.17 with the parliament, and so we can't go for it. So I think we just give up and go for free subjects now. I think this is the idea here. Especially because free subjects gives prosperity, and this is something we are pressured on, and pop promotion speed is actually something that is throttling us right now, and the max tax for peasants is less a big deal the more urbanized we are, so I think actually free subjects is going to serve us pretty well. So knowing that we are going free subjects, I think what we do is we don't upset the estate of those guys. I think we go for... I guess we're going to go for, try and figure out actually two people to fight. So this is what we're going to do, is we're going to go for some CBs. We're going to take a look around and decide which CBs we want. After a little bit of reflection, we're going to go for one CB and swapping on to by tradition, giving us some peasant estate satisfaction equilibrium, and then we will take the L on this estate. So we're going to go for Goa as our CB. They have a couple allies that we also wanted to get into in Rechurla, and so the combination of these two should be good. Hopefully we can subjugate both without it being too crunchy on the infamy, and we're in the middle of a war right now, and we're planning on declaring on this guy in the south, so I think in 5 years that's a pretty good program in terms of of what we have going on. In fact, we want to maybe even consider disbanding all of our levies just so we can declare another war, because we can't declare war while we have levies. But we're going to see what full occupation looks like, get there, and then make a decision in terms of how we handle this. If we didn't mention it already, we are urbanizing the entire circle around our capital already. These resources aren't tremendous, they're not insane, and so we are going to have a lot of urbanization here, and we're going to get crunching on all of these things that we can build with our sweet production efficiency from having resources in the same province as the place or as the thing we're building. We are also going to go free mobility for common people, and also going to go hunting permits in order to give ourselves some more satisfaction, and that should increase our income as we now have a higher satisfaction equilibrium trending towards for the peasants. Being as magnanimous as we are, we'll only take one province off of Bamani. There's just one province. Only one. And we're going to release it as a subject once we're at peace. But first, we do have this war to concern ourselves with, where we are going to be subjugating this guy down south. We are going to get ourselves a little bit of a mini coalition, but improve relations is your friend, and we'll just improve relations with whoever is looking to coalition us. I think we'll look to spend just a little bit just to keep ourselves swimming with a little bit more diplomats here. We increased that so that we would get a cheaper peace out on the antagonism, but it's still a little, you know, so as soon as we have an additional cabinet member, we'll probably look to improve relations with this gentleman, and then have a bit of a go at this guy. Actually, we're going to be fighting this guy. Yikes. Too much antagonism here. Too much antagonism. But if we subjugate this guy, then we don't have to worry about him. I guess we got to improve relations with these two before we go for this war against Goa. Something like this. Or we just don't use that CB and we just call it a wash, and that's probably fine enough too. So we're 11 years in, and our income at the start was 17 or 19. Now it's 230, and our tax base went from 80 to 510. And we are not slowing down, we're not stopping, we're not breaking for no one. We did release this guy as a subject. The reason why we're expanding through subjects is because of integration thing. We won't have this place integrated, we would have to use a cabinet action to do it, and instead we release as a subject and we let them integrate it. Also, subjects are more prone or likely to use dev province, so it's really nice that this guy owns an entire province, because he's going to integrate this, and then he's going to dev province it, and so this will increase quite nicely. We might even drag our feet a little bit on incorporating it, because this is such a big province. We really want them to use dev province on it, and so this would be very valuable to us. Almost as valuable as that loud car outside, which does sound expensive. We also subjugated this guy, and as it relates, this guy has a bunch of claims because he lost them in a war, which is really nice for us because it's going to let us deck a war on this gentleman and this gentleman both probably at the same time, because I imagine they're allies given how he was carved up like a cupcake, except you just eat cupcakes, you don't carve them. That's cakes you carve. But this is going to allow us to get cheap wars into these guys and not need to use our parliament in that way. So we're probably going to be going max tax on a lot of our parliaments. We see that the nobles are kind of reasonably okay. They have so much power, though. Anytime we do anything, they're going to get real big mad. You don't... The thing is maybe we don't even want to tax them as much as we are, but we have an equilibrium of 51%. They're just never approaching this equilibrium. Our thought was we want to put in more privileges. As kind of our values are standing, we are starting to trend towards serfdom, but it is, or towards free subjects, but it is pretty slow. I don't think we need to accelerate this. We're kind of just fine letting the chips fall where they may. Same with this, with innovative, because we don't, we have the Black Plague maybe coming in. The stab cost negative is maybe something to be a little bit concerned about. Although it doesn't necessarily hit us, it does look like it's spreading our way. We have incense though, so we're going to have a pretty nice Black Plague. So I think the next wave of building that we look to do, we're probably going to look to throw up a bunch of hospitals in that case, by the looks of things, so that way we are nice and ready for this. If the prices are already collapsed, there's no reason why we can't just go do this now though. No, masonry is expensive. We have to wait for all this stuff to finish, and then we will throw up hospitals in all of the locations we have, which are currently urbanized. Which are these ones? No new ones, just around the capital, though. So this war was pretty straightforward, but since it was a parliament war, and then on top of this, this isn't a co-CB or the primary CB, it's really expensive to go after his stuff. We're deciding to take a couple of locations down here and actually leave him with this. The reason why we're leaving him with that is because our guy has a claim on that, so he would likely generate a CB on it, and then we can go after this guy later with a much better CB where we will be getting a discount rather than this massive extra cost on the antagonism. We have a lot of people kind of mad at us. We'd rather be able to pull back the Diplo, not pay quite so much for it to be able to handle these types of things, so we're going to go for that, and we are going to be going for... it's unfortunate we can't subjugate him, but we just don't have enough here, so this will be our peace deal. We'll just feed those 2 locations on over to our subject, and that'll be all fine and dandy. Here, we will just subjugate Goa, because they are the primary war target, so this will be much cheaper, and we will go for a fiefdom, because they are the same faith as us, and we will go for the other stuff as well, of course, taking some war reps, these types of things, and this will work pretty well. Only Bamani is going to be inside of a coalition if there is one, so we have some space to work with our next parliament, which isn't that far away in terms of going after someone, subjugating on this type of thing, and this guy, of course, we will feed the locations. The reason being, we don't want to core these ourselves. He'll core them up for us. He will start working on that. He's in fact already working on the cores, and so that will be pretty good for him. He just wow, that's kind of weird. He has these cores, and those cores were taken... Wait. What? This guy took this territory and then lost all of his core territory, so he only has uncored provinces. Fascinating. Well, that's interesting, I guess. So we do feel the walls closing in on the Black Plague. It should be here any month now, just kind of taking over. You can see it spreading, which is always fun to watch when we catch it at the right time. Now it's on our borders. We could isolate the country. We're just going to eat the plague, though, and be ready for it. What can we do? What can we do? We can expel the sick, and what this will do is it will allow us to build this infrastructure, this pest house. Now, this pest house requires incense. Oh no, most people don't have incense, and so they can't make proper use of the pest house. We do have incense, so we are going to lose such little pops from this plague. We're at 2.6 million here. We might not even go under 2 million. So we're going to take the pest houses, and then we're going to hold shift. Yeah, we're going to hold the shift button. We're going to look at our gold stockpile. We're going to laugh at the poor people in Europe, and we're just going to build pest houses in every single place and still have, like, 80% of our gold left over. So that's fantastic. We'll find some other stuff to spend our gold on, I guess. But just look at these go. Look at... Oh, just good. Wait. Hold up. We're going to hear the clicking of a million clicks at once. It's going to sound like a Geiger counter in Chernobyl. Oh, just kidding. But did they nerf the clicking noise? I loved how loud it was. Man. I mean, like, look at this. We have 90% resistance, and the place has only acquired 8.5% presence. So it just started ramping up. We're getting resistance. We already have resistance stacked, and basically nothing happens. This is going to be just, like, the freest... And not that we need the pops, because we're in India. Like, we're saving a bunch of pops like it matters, but we have so many to spare that, okay, we're actually going to lose quite a few from the rural areas that don't have hospitals. And we lose the ruler. Well, I guess that's kind of awkward too, huh? That's actually really awkward because we should have segregated the court. He was giving us this big fat positive trend towards legitimacy, so that immediately makes us start losing like 40 ducats or something like this because this suddenly got a lot more expensive. This was like 30 ducats cheaper, what we were paying on this, which is probably, I guess, at least instructive that this is kind of the case. For this, we just chose the option that gave us stab there, or actually I think we were playing like 30 ducats and now it's up to 90, so oh, that's because it's actually we lost some legitimacy here with that one. So 30 ducat hit, kind of showing the power of that event. We're no longer making 220. We should be making around 180 once this kind of fixes up, but then everything's also kind of thrown into a flux by the pops dying, not just our pops matter here, but kind of the pops with everywhere we're trading and all the interconnectedness matters, because as places we're exporting to, a change of the guard, war of the successors of Delhi, until the end of the game. Yikes. What do we get against this guy? We get declare war cost minus 33%, speed of integration, and antagonism received. Antagonism received is hot. So that is going to be nice for us. But as we were saying, it's not just our pops that matter, it's also just the interconnected nature of things. And so if we're exporting a bunch of goods and or other people in our market are eating the goods and the demand goes way down, all of our industries will be less profitable because a bunch of people died. It doesn't have to be specifically our pops. And so we're still expecting to see an economic slowdown. Just kidding, we're still making 160, Jesus. But okay, we like... we lost like 15% of our pops and that's it. Because we're almost like out of it. Almost all the places are kind of tamped down. We don't really need... yeah, I think we're just going to do this. We're going to take the trend towards free subjects. That's fine. We want to preserve our stab because we're going to need it to swap religions. Or swap our specific religion to a heretic one, because we want to do one that has self-control. But we are basically at the tail end of the Black Plague here. Only 2,000 pops are dying, and, you know, we lost 400k, it looks like. Yeah, 413k. Basically nothing to the Black Plague. If you have incense, you could effectively just consider yourself as having like 20 to 30% more pops at the start of the game. If you have a combination of incense and gold, which incidentally Mamluks have this too. Mamluks are one of the few countries that has incense. I guess we could tag our incense and kind of see who has it here. Our incense is right here, so if we click it, we'll see where it is globally. And so like these places, much more resilient against the Black Plague, and so Mamluks are close enough to here to be able to import it and make good use of it, but other people not being in trade range of this are going to have struggles. Look, Unit is Korea too. Shout out to Korea. So we have a very, very comfortable Black Plague on our hands where, you know, only 400,000 out of 2.6 million die. So doing Parliament here and kind of having a more chill, laid-back Parliament where we don't upset the nobles, and then we upset the nobles by slotting in some privileges, and I didn't realize I didn't have this slot in. I thought I had this slot in. It's progress towards centralization, so that's my bad. So there's our progress towards centralization. So now we can actually change the laws and move off of aristocratic court onto the court that gives us proximity. So here's our proximity map mode right now, which is looking decent enough. It's largely off the back of the fact that we start off with 10% procs, and the terrain here is not like super bad. It's got a lot of this plateau stuff, but okay, it's not terrible. And what we are going to be doing is we are going to be using our Parliament to ask for a law change, and then we are going to come in on the one that is, I wish I was faster at this. Itinerant court for the minus proximity cost through land, and the centralization of the estate privilege will effectively cover the cost of this, which will allow us to move better over land. Now, it's only 1% in right now, because that's how laws work, or how policies work, but that's going to be good for us. Also, for what we're doing increased naval infrastructure, and then intentionally failing it, to get a little bit of progress towards land. So that's the plan. We are also building up a whole bunch of, as you can see, inputs. Prices are high right now, but we have a ton of money, so we're just getting ready for the next wave slash phase of things where we are probably going to be pushing some more urban stuff, or even just starting to push cities here. We have enough gold, and that would help us out, especially when we don't have as good industries to push up anymore. So once we have the best industries pushed up in a location, then the only thing you can do is to push the location higher, but we really don't have a lot of industries pushed in locations, so this place will have a bonus towards also towards the tools, and so pushing tools here before... Yeah, we're probably not going to go cities first because we still have a bunch of useful buildings to build, and we still have a lot of promotion speed between all of our urban areas, but this is on the radar of kind of what we're doing in the near future. You can see that India tends to urbanize a little bit. I don't know how much the AI is doing it, but usually by the time you get to India as a European, there's a ton of cities all over the place. So, we have enough stability where I feel comfortable going for our swap on over to Shaivism. Generally speaking, when we've perused the avatars, they've been relatively unimpressive, and that's kind of what we're getting with our current branch of Hinduism. We're getting a bunch of tech too. Hinduism has some strengths anyways, but what we really want is to swap on over to Shaivism because it's going to enable self-control. And self-control is a mechanic where you are going to have a value. You can do stuff like indulgent feasts, which we will, which incidentally gives us some prestige, so that's nice. And what is going to happen is we are going to have options of what we can go towards. If we stay perfectly balanced, we get 5% estate satisfaction and 5% research progress. I used to think that this one was pretty good, or the way to go, but this was pretty early on when we were playing. And now I think, man, oh man, does the self-control minus 100 look good. So we have to get this to minus 100 to get the full bonus / penalties, but what it will give us is 10% maximum tax, extra pop food consumption, ooh, because we have enough bonuses that we could easily handle that, and then income from vassals plus 20%, monthly war exhaustion minus, a little bit towards belligerent, but the really big thing here is the max tax. And this is one of the reasons why serfdom is looking a little bit less appealing, because we're already going to have a decent chunk of peasant max tax anyways, so this does seem like a pretty good shout, and we are going to progress towards that when we can, especially when we're at war. We can do indulge in bloodbath, which will give us a huge decrease to self-control, and all we have to do is get it to minus 100, and then it just sits there, and then we don't engage with it anymore. I wasn't sure if it bricked our religious figure if we did that, so that's why we didn't slot them in for a while. I remember one of these guys being pretty good. I guess maybe not so good. Max literacy is certainly appealing, as is the peasant satisfaction. Cultural tradition's not very useful here, and so I guess we're going to go with the max literacy. This will be fine enough, and hopefully we will get a good option elsewhere as well. And then also we have this going on where we are really heavily urbanizing. Every single location around our capital, we're turning into a city. We're also working on this eventual kind of road / superhighway, which we're going to build Poundlock Canals because it is a river here. So that is going to be something we're working towards, and then we're going to just keep building in these places, just the best industries that we can. We really are just swimming in money, so that's why we can pull this off, and this is going to allow us to build more stuff. The reason why is because cities have two things that they can construct simultaneously. Towns can only construct one thing, so this is going to allow us to keep the queue filled. We'll just bank up a bunch of money and then we'll spend it down, and they'll recruit up faster, and hopefully they promote a little faster too. I feel like cities promote faster, but I haven't seen any mechanic that says that they do, other than they are going to have a much higher, let's take a look at the tooltip, a much higher possible burgers. So when they over promote, you just have a bunch of extra burgers laying around, so maybe this is kind of where it's at. But the population capacity is also going to help us for growth as well. It's going to allow a lot more pops, and you grow based on your population capacity, and so having a bunch of extra capacity is going to give you a bunch extra from available land. So instead of 14%, we're going to have maybe 17-18% this time, or 0.17, and so this is going to help us out for the pop growth as well here. So we encounter a little bit of a bug, which is this guy. We just helped him win a revolt, or win versus a revolt, and on winning, he gets independence from us. So that's a little bit annoying, and that might have to do with the unique India subject type, I would have to guess. So yeah, that's unfortunate. We had invested a decent amount into getting this. I suppose we could just go for him again, because we did that with a... yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll just go for him again, because we did that with a spy network. So I guess the investment wasn't really that high, but a little bit frustrating here. Disrupting the flow of things. We were hoping to use this guy to get a CB into these other guys, and now obviously that's not going to happen. So our strategy on handling the other people in this region would have been a little bit different, knowing that we weren't going to eventually get these CBs. We do have a CB cooking versus Delhi, but I don't know if we can beat them. They have their hands tied, but if we take a look at, like, the predictor and how they think this will go, they think this will go real bad. I think we probably can fight them, but you know, look at their potential levies and this type of thing. So that is a little bit spooky, and so I don't know if we could have a little bit of a go at it just because they look occupied, and like, I mean really occupied, like Like literally occupied. Like, see that? It's occupied. So, for the record, we did try and load and just to troubleshoot this bug. So if things are a little bit different in terms of which cities we urbanized, then that is the reason why. But to coming in here, we are going to be going for a religious war and see how things go. Hopefully we can fight them. I think we can fight them. I think they're busy enough that this is going to work out for us. We can raise a bunch of levies here, and we will be off and on our way. We want to kind of make sure that this keeps shuffling around. That way we maintain high control everywhere. So let's put it in here. And then have these levies come up. And we just want to quickly get in and out of this war. I think this war is for this province over here. Something over here. So it's not way deep into Delhi. We do want to add a general here. This guy will do. And we will be trying to go in. I don't think Bahmani has too much in the way of fortifications. Yeah, they don't. So we should just be able to run right through Bahmani, win some wars or win some battles against Bahmani, and get some war score. Because I believe that in this age, battles matter a ton for war score. They start to matter a whole lot less, but winning battles is way more important than occupations. And if we can just go in and dust them up, we might be able to get something going. They do have a lot of subjects, but a lot of these subjects are disloyal as well, like Saptagram. These guys, boy, these guys are uber chads. Hopefully they're actually not actually in this war, but look at this. 90,000 guys that they can levy up, and this is low for them. Those are rookie numbers. At game start they have 160k, so but I'm assuming that they are really rebellious and not particularly interested in helping out, and this is one of the reasons why we think we're kind of in the clear to go for this. So it is a bit unfortunate that this is already occupied. I mean, they're occupied, huh? We did say they were occupied. Boy, are they occupied. So we're not going to be able to occupy the war goal, which is unfortunate. But we can occupy all of Bahmani and I guess keep going north and try and find some battle to win. Maybe we can even go for Delhi if we really think a Saptagram is... If we go to the diplomacy... Ugh, why are you green, my guy? I think that's just because they're a subject. We're trying to check out the diplomacy of how they feel about each other. And I'm not sure exactly how to do that in the UI. We tried to do it by looking at some of that stuff, at just clicking on them and looking at the diplomacy, but I think it's just showing that they're a subject. So we get this quick occupation here, I guess, and I guess we'll come on over and start going for... Oh, they're not even in it, these guys. Too disloyal. So we just have this? Is there not a way for them to march down to us? I guess we could wait here. If we are going to wait on a province, we probably want to check and see and wait on someplace that has reasonable or more defensive capabilities. So let's pull it back and wait here and see how this shakes out. Because if this war ends with Varanasi, we will be able to occupy the war goal. So I guess we're just going to sit, but unfortunately we're going to get ticked down because we don't occupy the war goal. Is the war goal just... Is this how they handle it? Someone else occupies it so we can do this? It doesn't look like we can peace out, but we do have over 10, so we could eventually. So I guess we're playing the waiting game here now, or until we see any sort of armies. So because Bahmani is disloyal, we can separate peace them, and so even though we're having trouble getting after Delhi themselves, we can at the very least take this, and even if we wipe peace, this is a pretty nice kind of nugget of stuff to take. Not too much on the antagonism, partly because this guy is a different religion than everyone else. Everyone else is Hindu, and so we can take a pretty big chunk out of this, and this leaves a rather nice sized Bahmani for us to eventually subjugate later, if we get him independence, this type of thing. I think we'll make a subject out of these guys, a subject out of these guys, and we'll feed this section here up to Goa, but we are going to continue on with the war because the war is not done yet. Why did you... Oh, because you were in the wrong thing. So we're just going to head back. We still have bought access through these guys, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to try and buy access to these guys, and then we're just going to unsiege them from the back end. Be really annoying. Very obnoxious. I don't think we have... There we go. We are going to see if we can get access from these guys, which we can. Purchase military access, fantastic. Although they should really give it to us for free, considering we're about to set them free. The liberation is on its way, and these guys should be able to... Or, well, they already occupy Delhi. I don't know how this happened. This is such a strange phenomenon where they're, like, both occupied. But we will be able to go through these... Actually, maybe we just don't help them out. hold the phone. I think we don't actually want to help them out. We're gonna let the morale tick up, but they can occupy this guy. I think we want to occupy that guy and just maybe be able to flip something our way. And so, do we want to unoccupy them? I really don't know the answer to that. But here, we need to grab a province so that we don't run out of food, because we are out of food. We finish the annexation of a gentleman. Hell yeah. And then that should help our food situation. We might need to split these guys in half. Looks like we need generals for both these guys. So we'll handle that up. And I guess we will be sieging this guy down. We're just going to keep the general there to hold on to the food province. We're going to have to do the thing where we micro them back and forth, I think. That's very tedious and difficult to watch. So what's going to happen is, as this guy runs out of food, we're going to run this guy in. And then once this guy's in, we'll move the other guy back, because they can both replenish food in there. Maybe we even build some units. The food has been changed a little bit on this patch, and so maybe we even build some auxiliaries to be able to help handle this kind of endeavor. I know there's an automation for it, so maybe we can do this, because otherwise this is going to be some quite tedious micro moving them back and forth. So it doesn't look like we could really press for too much for Delhi. They've been perma-occupied by this other guy. We were thinking of trying to snake our way up to the north and, you know, gain access to them over here. But there's no one really left to beat in battle except for Saptagram, which we can't beat in battle because they have near infinite levies. It's the fact that they just don't want to march out that lets us to win this. But they have 80k. We're not marching our 18k stack into there. So I think the best we can hope for is just releasing Bahmani, which seems pretty good for us, because we'll just go for them and we get our sheriff power increased for the dissolution of Delhi. Disaster here? We haven't really seen this side here. I guess this is just winning a war and taking any sort of concession. But here, we will start to build a spy network on them because they are a sultanate, and we do want to go after them and try and subjugate them. So what we will also do is we will create some subjects. Go for... Do we have any historical? No, we don't want to do that one. Custom subjected here. We are going to release these guys. We can only release the Samanta? Brother, I don't know how I feel about this. See, the problem with this subject type is that, if I recall correctly, we cannot annex it. We have to turn it into a different subject type in order to do this. So this subject, it cannot be annexed. I really hate the subject types that are in India. They just like, in our experience, they've just been hyper disloyal, and so we don't want to use them. We just want to make everything fiefdom, and now we're getting locked in on that. We can't release a fiefdom. That's kind of obnoxious. So, and also, these guys were one of the alternate subject types for India, and they like bugged out and broke free, so I really don't want to give up this territory and have that go weird. But at the same time, we don't want to integrate it ourselves, so I guess we're going to create some subjects, and hopefully this goes okay. So, something that's worth noting here, and is a reason for us not to annex these guys early, is they're using the dev province interaction, so these places are going to get a lot of dev. These guys aren't because they're still integrating, right? These guys were earlier, they were using dev province down here, so taking a look, we can see, are they still doing it? No, because they've moved their cabinet action over to integrate this land that we gave them, but the guy that we annexed was using dev province, but he didn't have the full province, so we want to get the full province, maybe dev province it ourselves. This is a really big one. I think this is a 15er. Just kidding, it's an 18 location province, and so I do think we want to dev province this ourselves, and I think that we're going to actually have a lot of one province subjects and try and see if they can dev up quite a bit. I don't know exactly how good this is. Dev province used to be so much better, and it was wildly good then, but this might be still good enough, considering the size of the provinces, for us to be able to do this. Because this guy, I mean, like, dev is giving us a lot of things. Okay, it's not giving us as much proximity as it used to, but it is still giving us proximity, right? And it is also giving our geo size, max building size, like, all these good, like, modifiers, population capacity, food production, all these sorts of things that that are going to help out. And so we can see we have been dev provincing a little bit in this province here in Rachar Doab, I believe is the name of it. And we can see that just looking at it, we're doing a little bit better on the dev because we don't really have much dev growth going on because of prosperity. And so just the little bits that we've been doing as we've been kind of shuffling around some of our cabinet actions is producing a difference and is allowing us to be, what is this, like 10% higher in terms of devs. So these bonuses are like 10% higher than they are in kind of the province scrum beneath them, which is kind of nice, but it's not insane. But this is 30 years. How good does it have to be over the course of like 150 years is kind of a larger sort of question. And is this sort of dev province thing still good? I don't really know the answer. I imagine it's okay for Vijayanagar specifically, but not for other countries where you have like 5 location provinces, but us with like the 18. It's hard to imagine that dev provincing, even if it's not good, it's hard to imagine that it's like that big a leak if it's not optimal. So we're probably going to try and do that. We also annexed these guys a little while back, and then we didn't have enough prestige to accept their culture, but now we do have enough prestige to accept the culture. We were reminded by this event, which goes after our prestige. It was like, man, it'd be really nice if we didn't lose this prestige here. Now we're under 3, so we will just choose the low prestige option, and as we pass the month, all of these places will now be cored, which is going to be good for us. That's plus 15 max control. I think we'll move over our cabinet action just to over there, since we're using it around anyways, and this will get it up to the plus 15 really, really quick. We are still shuffling this cabinet action around. We do not deserve 90s. You can see that the actual maximum control here would be 71, but as long as you get something like reasonable, you can push it up to 90/100. You can see here the actual control that should be is 69, and just by shuffling this in kind of circles, we are kind of just circumventing this type of thing. And so this is a really, really strong cabinet action. It is a bit tedious to just like circle it around, but it is, it's the best cabinet action. You just can only do it with one person, and so at least it's not microing multiple at the same time. But for us, again, to emphasize kind of one of the really big strengths of Vijayanagar, if you can cycle this, because what's going on is we are gaining... Right, we are gaining control equal to the base rate plus 64%, so 164%, which is going to be giving us a monthly control of 1.64, okay? And then control decays at a rate of 0.5, so this means that we can maintain like plus 30, plus 40 control on 3 different provinces, and so as we cycle this around, we can maintain control on that high thing. So for most countries, this is like 15 locations, which is a good amount of locations. But for us, this is like 35 locations or something like this. And so this is really strong, and it's just going to get stronger as we get more cabinet efficiency. For the most part, we are often just throttling ourselves with forgetting to move it. But even if we forget to move it, this cabinet action's like not that bad, just laying it on someplace and just keeping it in. So you can see here, we will be gaining monthly change 1.91, the base rate. Oh, actually, it's even better because I forgot the base rate. So it's the base rate plus our increased province control of 1.64, and then here you can see a location decaying, and it's just decaying by 0.5. So this is what's been going on in the background. If you've been watching the control and you've been thinking, that kind of looks weird, really the thing that we should be kind of caring about is the proximity to capital in terms of evaluation here. And speaking of, we could probably actually use we could use a bailiff down here, which would be nice in this location here with the elephants, because we're not going to build over the elephants, I don't think, and we might not build over the cotton. Just taking a look, there's no river on the cotton, so we'll almost certainly not do that. So we could use that there because they don't actually have that much proximity themselves, and this will help to keep the control higher in these areas, at least until we can start propagating it, maybe get the next level of roads, something like this. So we are going to do a couple of Diplo things. We're going to start sending this guy money. Big thing is we want to improve the cultural opinion of Telugu, and we could do that with 50 favors, and we could just send him money in order to get those favors. So that's going to work for us. We will just send him 1,500 ducats a few times, and we will get a little bit more approval with his culture. We could also just eliminate him, and then it's like less of a big deal. But this is currently where a lot of the cultural capacity cost is coming from, and we can improve his view of us, and so this will help out. Are also getting favors from Orissa by having them as our ally and generating favors. With this button, same idea here. We want to get them to like our culture a little bit more. That way we can do things. There is a cooldown, if I recall correctly, on us sending him money, so it's not like we can just keep sending it, but we can do it every 10 years. So 50 years from now, we will be able to accept it, which means we can't fight this guy for 50 years, but that's kind of whatever. He loves us anyways, because we just sent him a big pile of money. So, we're going to make a little bit of a move here. We didn't get enough support in Parliament to really go after a CB. We are getting a CB on Bombani. We are putting a spy network in on Delhi to fight them again. But we see that Hoysala is fighting this guy. He's going after this guy, and I think we could do something about it by just offering this guy an alliance. He should pull us into the war, and then we can have a little bit of a go here. So we will be called into this war of aggression, and we want to take stuff. We want to really toot it and boot it here, though, because we want to get out of this war as quickly as possible, given the fact that we will be able to peace if we control, or we can control the peace deal if we get out quickly. If we don't get out quickly, we won't be able to control the peace deal, and we want to control the peace deal because we especially want to be able to take these provinces. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to clean out some of his standing army, and then we're going to look to assault some of these forts here. So I think we're going to start just walking down. Ooh. We're at war with this gentleman. Okay, I guess we'll walk through, and so that should work. We don't need the support because we're not going to pass anything anyways, but we'll have a little bit of a go here. This guy had super good relations with us, so we didn't want to deck on him for stability reasons, but we do want the remainder of this province here in our hands. So, for the first time in ever, an AI-led peace deal has gone our way, and they gave us exactly what we wanted. As you can see, that is the province. This is the unintegrated territory, so we will have to integrate it ourselves. I think we are kind of fine doing that. Also, we ran into some problems in this war, because they would occupy the capital of the province, which of course occupies the entire province. In our case, enormous provinces. And we didn't have fortifications because we deleted all our forts. So, with all of our province capitals, we're just going to go ahead and add a castle if they have like 10 plus locations, regardless of like any types of entry points or corridors. We really don't want to lose these huge provinces and cause a lot of devastation in this type of stuff and lose prosperity. So we are going to be posting up some capitals there, and that was a little bit uncomfortable. We will get started on integrating these guys. I think that we're going to come off of this and just integrate province down here, and that should go pretty well. We'll appoint a guy who actually has good stats, considering, well, actually, you know what? I think I like the idea of actually using recovery effort. Recovery effort's so good, we need it at this point, and the reason it's so good, well, it's just, it's very niche though, so you can't always use it. We're going to appoint someone who has a really high military, because we are going to be integrating province with this guy afterwards, and so we actually do want some stats. This guy, instead of developing though, I guess we could use this guy to increase province control, at least down here, to get this place up, but we have been developing Rachar Doab here. But as soon as this gets integrated, we'll probably develop this province instead, because this is the biggest one. This is the biggest bang for your buck. Of course, Rachar Doab has gold, but this province, if I recall correctly, does have some goodies. It doesn't quite have the gold, but we have iron, fiber crops, a couple of cottons, 3 cottons, in fact, 2 elephants, so there's a whole lot in here, of course, because it has 18 locations. For tech, we are going to be picking up some stuff in the tier 1 tree, namely, we don't want to forget to pick up the institution growth, so we're going to grab that, the max RGO size, and the institution growth into the cultural influence. I think we'll take the dip capacity and max clergy as well, because it is better to research this stuff in this age rather than a subsequent age, and we've kind of hit the most important check marks for this age, for this stuff. I guess there are some pretty good things remaining that will be pretty solid. We could go for cab efficiency. We do like what our cabinet is working on, but I think that Religious war, we're already kind of using what's going on. I think we'll take trade capacity, though. Do we have any trade range? I don't think we do. The Muslims do have a lot of trade range, which is quite nice. We'll go for max literacy for burghers. That'll help with development a little bit. And we'll go for Mediterranean ship. So that will be 10 techs queued up. We are going after Bahmani now, and this should be a very short war. I think that we're going to make them our subject, but here's the thing. Here's our concern. We want to make them a subject that we can annex, so that's these guys. But we're concerned that this thing that happened over here happens again, where we just lose the subject for nothing, which is very frustrating. So we'll subjugate them, and we'll just hope that it goes okay, I guess. They're much better, or they're much bigger, so hopefully they don't we have some weird thing happening to a rev, and maybe we'll throw them money as time goes on. So we just need to occupy a couple more things, and then they will be ready to go our way. Basically 0 resistance, because I think they're like completely out of money, so we'll start shipping them some money, and that should make them strong. We decided to go with 20 ducats a month, which I think is a pretty good amount. Hopefully that helps to get them out of the hole they're in. I think that they might also be in debt, so maybe we can take on their debt. Let's see, we have diplomat en route, and they have no debt we can take on. Alright, fair enough. So this will help us out. These guys were fine. We're not going to pay for that. And so things are coming along quite nice, except our kid's an idiot. So maybe we'll explain a little bit more in detail what we're doing with the buildings. So the main thing that is throttling us right now is burger promotions. You can see we only have 3 here, but we have negative burger availability in almost all of our locations that are urbanized, and this is what's slowing us down. But what we are doing is we are also building in such a way that we benefit as much as possible from maximizing production efficiency, and we're doing that in 2-fold ways. First of all, we are doing that by building in the locations that are in provinces that have the input good. So here, input good is iron, right? We are building in a province that has iron. In fact, we're building on a location that has iron, and so we get 10% production efficiency there. And it's important to understand how the math works on this. It's straight output. It's not that we're getting 10% more value. This is so much more valuable than that, because the way it works is you make 10% more of the good. So if you were producing 1 good, and you had inputs of 0.9, and you're producing 1 good, and you get 10% production efficiency, your net before was 0.1, because 1 minus 0.9 is 0.1, because you have to pay for your inputs, and if you add 10% more outputs on top of that, you go to 1.1 output. So your output doubles from that production efficiency, right? Because you go from producing 1 to 1.1, and 1.1 minus 0.9 is in fact 0.2, which is double 0.1. So this is really important how valuable this is. On top of this, we are getting 8% from building levels. This is part of why it is so valuable to have a ton of pops and upgrade to cities. Because we have so many levels of the building, we're going to get additional 8%, and our production efficiency here is like 18%. So a huge chunk of this is coming off the back of where we are choosing to build, and that we are choosing to build a tall like this. We aren't building like 15 different things in these locations. We are building one thing to the max, and then building other stuff elsewhere. We're building other stuff in other locations, so this way we have specialized locations. If we take a look, we can see why we are able to get building levels, and you can see a big part of this is population. We also have development. We're using Dev Province a little bit in the north, and also the fact that things are a city. So as you stack more of this, you will be able to get more production efficiency, improving not only the previous buildings you own, but also the marginal additional buildings, and so this kind of snowballs in terms of the math. But we have iron here because we're building tools here because we have iron in this province. Here, we are building wine because we have fruit in this province, right? And this is giving us production efficiency, or it should be. We're using a rice PM. Why are we using a rice PM? That's a little bit of a curious thing. Would the wine PM be better? No. The fruit wine PM is just not very good if this is the case here. Or rice price has collapsed, and we're very, very close to using the fruit PM, though, in terms of profitability. We're letting the AI handle this, but it's not quite there yet. I think there's probably enough demand for fruit that the fruit price is a little bit higher than the wine price, would be my guess in terms of how things are, or than the rice price. Here we have 1.13, and we could kind of investigate a little bit. Is the rice super cheap? I don't see a good rice pile with which us to investigate, but it's probably because we're blind. So let's take a look at the market and investigate like that. But I suspect... Oh, the rice price isn't collapsed either. Is the PM just not very good? I mean, the rice price is lower than the fruit price, so I guess the lower input is overcoming the fact of this, or maybe if we swap to this, it would improve and get better. Something like this, a little bit of silliness. Well, it gets to being about the same, so that's fine and well enough. But the main idea is that we are doing that all over the place with what we are building. We are building, for example, the jewelry in the location where we have gold. That way we get more production efficiency from having gold as the input. And we're doing that for all of these. And we're also continuing to urbanize very, very quickly. We're super rich, so any location we want to make urban whatsoever, we're just instantly upgrading it to cities. We'll probably start to add more. It feels weird building over stuff like livestock, which is reasonably good to not build over. And to be fair, we don't have our enormous food advantage now yet because we haven't unlocked our boons. But we're also not hurting for food, because generally speaking, the way that food squeezes you is it really squeezes you when you have mostly upgraded high-tier pops. We have so many pops that when we look at the demography situation here, we still have a ton of peasants. The peasants kind of cover themselves and they cover other people, so it's not like we've pushed everyone into being burghers yet, and that is where, because the peasants produce food, that is where you start getting squeezed on the food. So we're not particularly close to getting squeezed on the food because we have so many pops. When you only have 20,000 pops in a location and then 17,000 of them are burghers, that's when you're going to start having very significant food issues. We haven't been following this that close because we knew that once we dismantled Bahmani, we would be in really good shape for this. But the fall of Delhi situation, once we reach a 50% power, we will get the dissolution of Delhi disaster for them, which makes them completely collapse. But there's not really that much left to collapse, eh? Because this is Delhi. Yep. Shout out to them. We forgot we had a spy network on them. We are going to generate ourselves a religious war. That way, we're not going to actually fight that religious war for, like, this land over here. We're fighting it because they still have subjects in Mewar, Jalore, and these guys who are worth getting into. Specifically, we want to get into these guys. Saptgram we want to avoid for forever because they have infinite levies. It's not showing it, but they really have a lot of guys, so they are quite scary. We are fighting this war with Orissa, but we're not actually going to be helping them out. We just got joined in. And we also allied this guy, which means that we don't have to pay him money for currying the favors, but we might end up paying him money just to, and Orissa money as well, just to speed along the process. We can send them a gift, a max size gift here, to get another 10 favors, and so we could speed up the process by which we get favors for the purposes of accepting their culture, but I don't think it's quite necessary. We might do it for this guy because this guy's closer and we'd rather get into him first. But as far as expansion goes, we are kind of looking at ready, and we are looking at this guy here. This is all one province. This would be really nice to be able to subjugate or to take him out and then release a subject. That way they are likely to use the dev province interaction, as we have seen kind of being put to good use here. We're seeing the development come along quite nicely here, and if we like think of things in terms of, okay, the proximity, if it were to travel up and through here, this is a major like thoroughfare towards the north. So in terms of provinces that we would really like to actually increase in development a lot, this is one of them. And we don't have enough cabinet members to develop everything, right? We want to develop this massive province here and maybe Rachel Doab, and we don't have enough cabinet actions to do everything. So keeping guys as subjects a little bit longer than normal for purposes of this maybe makes some sense. Also, Goa has like the best natural harbor in this region, like off to the side here, and we can kind of make a connection to Doha reasonably well if through here, because this connects down here, although it might be the case that connecting down through here and then roading over to Goa is faster. So getting any sort of dev in these areas is going to help our ability to get out to the sea a little bit better, if this is the lowest friction route. But unfortunately it's going through like hills jungle, so it might not be. This might be a little bit better. From what I recall, it's actually like one of the best ways might be up to here, up through here, or up through here. rather than going straight to Goa. But this is something that is also on our mind, especially because harbor capacity has become so much more useful. It might just be the case that actually this is the best way out, though, which is unfortunate. Normally we would not we would not city over a pepper province, but because it has such great harbor capacity, this is probably in the cards for us. And with that said, this route up here is probably going to go through here and then kind of take a turn, because look at these locations here. They're just super, super wide, and so you just need to get up to them. So probably somewhere through here, 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 and that's only going through 3 locations and out, and then out this way. And the terrain isn't so bad. A couple jungle hills to contend with, which are really the ones where you're going to lose a lot of proximity traveling through. We are seeing in terms of trade range that we can't quite reach Mecca. I don't think we have any additional trade range coming in through the tree in terms of what we have, and we would like to be able to reach further in, because we see that the institutions are now starting to bleed over into Mecca, and this market, which we've seen created a few times now, but before wasn't really that common. And so the institutions are starting to come here. We see banking coming here, and we would like to be able to trade with these locations, but as it stands right now, we cannot reach them. And so we just need a little bit more juice. And so what we're going to do is we're going to swap this out, and we're going to swap it out for Trade Office Network, just because we want the additional 10% trade range. I don't know if it pushes us quite close enough. When we've done this run before, I remember being able to reach into Mecca, but it might be that some of the numbers have been nerfed, swapped, and the fact that we're going overseas and we have a relatively high land value might be interfering with us, because this gives negative transport costs through sea, or negative trade range use through the sea, and we are going over the sea, so we might even want to pump the brakes a little bit on that. We could also check if this place can reach it and take over that market, and maybe that'll be a little bit better. We could also maybe go after Ormuz. The problem is Ormuz is they got a big navy and we have 0 navy, so we can't fight them directly, or we can't actually take their capital, which is the Crown Jewel province, because there is this whole deal where if they control the seas, we won't be able to get in there, but we can get through onto the land. We are generating a spy network on Sind. Our kind of natural expands, or some of our more natural expands, are going to be into the ones that are Sunni, because we can make CBs easier on these gentlemen. Sorry, correction, I just don't have eyes. It's right here. So accepting these guys is taking us a 2.11, and so if we could get them to like us a little bit more, that would improve our ability to accept them. So that's what this guy is about. And so if we do this, we won't be over the culture capacity anymore, which is giving us some negative modifiers, but they're not really that big a deal at this juncture. 0.21 over is not too bad, but it does mean that we can't accept more people. So coring anyone who is not of the Telugu, who we accept, or these guys, which is us, this is going to cost us extra. So we're probably going to want to keep it in here a little bit, but that's not too difficult to ask in terms of where we are expanding, because this is just a huge chunk. We just don't want to go after Marathi just quite yet. So annexing these guys, even if we annex them, we would not be able to fully core them. And cores give a very significantly plus 20 in terms of max control, which is really important relative to 50 or relative to 5 for just incorporated, or minus 15 if it is conquered, which is what we have here. But once we integrate this province, which we're working on, it will be a core. So this will be nice. It will take a while, so probably not over the course of this episode. Alright, so we're really close to being able to get a better parliament where our burghers are involved. What's going on here is we have 17% burgher power. You need 20% in order to rework your parliament. In order to shift on over to a state parliament, which takes 50 legitimacy, yowza. And so what we're going to do is we are going to try and see if we can get that here. That will be relatively painful to swap over, but maybe it's just we're going to get it next time. But we're going to go for just kind of taking a look at what happens if we slot in a couple of these here. We'll go for maritime presence. Not that we're like utilizing it, but we're just trying to juice these guys up to 20%. I think that we probably can get there. That's fantastic here. So we'll go for the Navy maintenance as well. We also have this army marching over. It's pretty big. They can't really deal with it. The only person who can deal with it is the chosen one, Saptogram, who we are not going to fight, except for our vassals are going to fight him. Bless. Godspeed, my friend. We actually might be able to fight them, but we're not trying to live that life. So here, now we're above 20%. Perfect. Now we can make the swap to an estate parliament here. We can select this swap. It is going to tank our legitimacy a whole ton, so this is going to be a little bit of a struggle bus of a thing for some time, but now we can call our parliament, and when we call our parliament, now we will have agendas coming from them as well. We're going to go promote integration process. If we do pass this, speed of integration, or sorry, integration will just increase by a flat 20%. That's quite a lot considering integration's going really slow, and a big part of why it's going slow is because we don't have a lot of cultural influence, and we won't until we get the Renaissance. So, because we've already like maxed out the libraries we can have, which is kind of what we can do. There's just so much cultural tradition. Also, cultural tradition in the Age of Renaissance is a little bit more robust. You can see everyone gets a plus 25% modifier, so everyone's a little bit more resistant to this type of thing. So, kind of would be happy to run this and actually pass promote integration process, especially because we don't really need that much money for stuff. So we're going to double check that we're doing it in the capital, actually, because I think we might have misclicked. Nope, we didn't. And then we're going to go promote integration process. So with this debate, we will now be able to, hey, look at this, utilize the burghers in our schemes. We're going to let this tick for a little bit because we want the nobles to recover their satisfaction. Unless we want to use the naval movement. The thing is, we don't really want the progress towards naval. But that actually might help us to get institutions a little bit better. We could take a look here at what is going on in terms of who we can reach. And we can reach Mecca with that one little slot in, which is quite nice. This is kind of what we were going for, to be able to reach them. So, mission accomplished there. But we don't really want to get the progress towards land, but we would love to get two things done this one. I think we're going to wait a little bit to let this increase opinion increase, and which means that the naval power is going to decrease, and what we mean is as the estates get less and less satisfaction, they get less contribution for their agendas, and as they get more satisfaction, they get more contribution to the agendas. So the naval's going to give us less, and increase opinion's going to give us more. It might end up being a wash, but we would really love to get a 100 support parliament here, so that we could go for the promote integration, and I think after this guy. I think we would like to subjugate this guy, and so we would like a CB on him. So we'll see what we can do with all that. Alright, so we're really close to being able to get a better parliament where our burghers are involved. What's going on here is we have 17% burgher power. You need 20% in order to rework your parliament. In order to shift on over to a state parliament, which takes 50 legitimacy, yowza. And so what we're going to do is we are going to try and see if we can get that here. That will be relatively painful to swap over, but maybe it's just we're going to get it next time. But we're going to go for just kind of taking a look at what happens if we slot in a couple of these here. We'll go for maritime presence. Not that we're like utilizing it, but we're just trying to juice these guys up to 20%. I think that we probably can get there. That's fantastic here. So we'll go for the Navy maintenance as well. We also have this army marching over. It's pretty big. They can't really deal with it. The only person who can deal with it is the chosen one, Saptogram, who we are not going to fight, except for our vassals are going to fight him. Bless. Godspeed, my friend. We actually might be able to fight them, but we're not trying to live that life. So here, now we're above 20%. Perfect. Now we can make the swap to an estate parliament here. We can select this swap. It is going to tank our legitimacy a whole ton, so this is going to be a little bit of a struggle bus of a thing for some time, but now we can call our parliament, and when we call our parliament, now we will have agendas coming from them as well. We're going to go promote integration process. If we do pass this, speed of integration, or sorry, integration will just increase by a flat 20%. That's quite a lot considering integration's going really slow, and a big part of why it's going slow is because we don't have a lot of cultural influence, and we won't until we get the Renaissance. So, because we've already like maxed out the libraries we can have, which is kind of what we can do. There's just so much cultural tradition. Also, cultural tradition in the Age of Renaissance is a little bit more robust. You can see everyone gets a plus 25% modifier, so everyone's a little bit more resistant to this type of thing. So, kind of would be happy to run this and actually pass promote integration process, especially because we don't really need that much money for stuff. So we're going to double check that we're doing it in the capital, actually, because I think we might have misclicked. Nope, we didn't. And then we're going to go promote integration process. So with this debate, we will now be able to, hey, look at this, utilize the burghers in our schemes. We're going to let this tick for a little bit because we want the nobles to recover their satisfaction. Unless we want to use the naval movement. The thing is, we don't really want the progress towards naval. But that actually might help us to get institutions a little bit better. We could take a look here at what is going on in terms of who we can reach. And we can reach Mecca with that one little slot in, which is quite nice. This is kind of what we were going for, to be able to reach them. So, mission accomplished there. But we don't really want to get the progress towards land, but we would love to get two things done this one. I think we're going to wait a little bit to let this increase opinion increase, and which means that the naval power is going to decrease, and what we mean is as the estates get less and less satisfaction, they get less contribution for their agendas, and as they get more satisfaction, they get more contribution to the agendas. So the naval's going to give us less, and increase opinion's going to give us more. It might end up being a wash, but we would really love to get a 100 support parliament here so that we could go for the promote integration, and I think after this guy. I think we would like to subjugate this guy, and so we would like a CB on him. So we'll see what we can do with all that. So we feel very snaky, snaking through all of this in terms of military access from this guy, military access, through this guy again, because look at those borders, and military access through this guy. We are going to be able to get all the way there. Why don't we stop and take a little bit of a breather, though? Do want to let the morale recover. Don't want to get randomly janked up by some army 1/10 our size because we have no morale. But this is going to be good for us. We also have to watch and make sure the parliament doesn't finish. The parliament's pretty close to finishing. So we will be back with this, or we will just show, hey, they have one location. It doesn't even have a fort. We're going to occupy it, and so we are going to be able to get war score on them. And the plan here is we're going to break up Saptagram, and we're going to look to take as much of it as possible just by occupying Delhi. You fight them by not fighting them. I think in theory, maybe if they're disloyal, you shouldn't be able to give away their territory, but maybe that's a little bit too far. But for us, this is going to put us in good position because we're going to go for a peace deal of something like this to really, really break up these guys and to have a really powerful subject for a long period of time. So this is kind of the type of peace deal we'll be looking for here. Because they are super sick of this war, we get the plus 100%. Defender has too much war exhaustion. This is kind of what we were waiting for. We just occupy that one province, and then we can do the peace deal we want. Don't comment about what this looks like, but just comment about how good this will be for us in terms of releasing a subject. We decide to peel off from several different provinces. The reason being this will be faster incorporation for the subject that we create, and we will create a little bit of border gores. So this is the peace deal we're going to go for here. And this will be pretty good for us. We also get a 5% further on the dissolution of Delhi by virtue of beating them in a war, which is just fine with us. We'll continue to do this, on repeat, and then we'll make a subject out of here. So let's do this. Relations, create subject. Historical subject? No. Custom subject. Alright, fair enough. And so we will do this here. We can make them a fiefdom. Perfect. We're a little bit leery of making them something other than a fiefdom because we don't want weird stuff to happen. And then what we will do, actually, what we could do, we could release 3 subjects. We could release 3 subjects because they're more likely to use the dev province interaction. And to be fair, so the reason you would not want to use multiple subjects before, in previous versions, was that they would, the floor on Diplo cost was really, really high. It was much higher than it is now. So the floor would be like 0.6, right? And if it's 0.6 as the floor, this means just by virtue of having a bunch of subjects, you would, even if they're really, really small, even if they're not pushing you a lot in terms of their size relative to yours, it wouldn't matter. I think here we almost have all of them at floor right now anyways. And so this would make it so that you didn't want to have too many little subjects because it would quickly rack up your Diplo capacity. But right now we're not really pressured at all. And if we had 3 different subjects here, they would integrate faster, and then they would use Dev Province, and we would be all happy with this. So I think we'll release 3 different subjects, but we are starting to get in here without needing to fight the absolute terror that is these guys. Of course, they might declare on us for their fallen land, which would be a little bit unfortunate. So we're maybe sticking our head into the tiger's mouth a little bit here, but we do have Orissa as a ally, as well as these guys as an ally, and maybe between the 3 of us and this, we can fight these guys off. I think we probably can, so I think we're fine to take this land here. So we do have some research picks to make. We probably want Deus Vault, but let's go for the stab stuff first. The stability investment, which is going to be benefiting us straight away. We want the institution growth relatively soon, because we're getting close to the point where we actually will start spreading the institutions. We have a lot of tolerance of beliefs, but we don't have anyone to tolerate, so that's maybe not the most important thing, but culture's capacity will be useful for us. I think we're currently over our culture capacity, so maybe we should even lead with that. And then the efficiency of cabinet will be relatively useful. We have a lot of the useful stuff to us. Coming down here, we could get some trade efficiency and legislative efficiency. This will decrease the amount of infamy we take, so this will be good as well as a little bit of stab here. And then let's go in on kind of the good army stuff. Let's go. We will probably have some amount of throttle where getting peasant levies will be good. It's okay during this age, but like once you get into the next stage, you get the other levies, it's not as big a deal. Let's just go for the initiative and see where things are in 16 techs. I'm guessing we will not be claiming an institution at that point in time because things are going a little bit slow. That's the wrong map, because the spread's not really going to Mecca yet. So we have a few routes set up just for like kind of as soon as that kicks in, just in case we forget. But right now it's going to Edfu, and we don't actually have access to Edfu with our market because it's a little bit too far away. It's just barely too far away, so that is unfortunate. If it spreads to Axum, though, this is something we'll keep an eye on. If institutions start spreading to Axum after they are embraced in here, because they are pretty close to being embraced, or at least banking is, and that's kind of the thing we got to keep our eye on here as it relates. I think we're probably going to declare war on Golconda here, or not on Golconda. Why is this? It's the control key is like being sticky or something. But this is the next target here. We do have a CB for it. We're just going to reorganize our troops before we go for it. That's not the CB we were talking about. The Parliament approved claims was the CB we're talking about. We've been keeping our spy network in Delhi just for the purposes of being able to steal maps as well here, and we're going to steal as much as we can. We're generating spy network relatively quickly. They don't have much counter-espionage. We have more cultural influence than us or than them, and so we are looking to kind of expand our map, especially of the Mediterranean. This is how we got sight on Lower Egypt, or Upper Egypt rather, allowing us to see Edfu, even though we cannot really trade with it because it is not quite close enough to us. Alright, so we have finally gotten to -100 self-control, giving us 10% max tax. The income from vassal subjects will be nice, because we're actually not annexing a lot of our vassals just yet, and also, once we eventually lean colonial, this is going to be nice for the colonies as well. If we take a look at how much we're getting from diplomacy, we are getting a decent amount from, our vassals, and this amount doesn't increase our expenses. Our tax income will increase our expenses too, but the value you're getting here is effectively worth more than what it looks like, and so this is juiced by 20%, so otherwise it'd be like in the 50s, something like this. We also have been postponing this war for some time, the war against Rich Herla, and the reason for this is because we wanted to build some forts. This is our current fort situation. We wanted to make sure that we had better coverage, especially towards the south, given that Hoysala is going to be joining against us. And in fact, we are going to co-belligerate Lupa and Hoysala together. For whatever reason, it's letting us co-CB 2 of these people, and we're going to be going for it. This is going to be a massive war. Basically, everyone adjacent to us, we are going to be fighting here. So this is quite a lot of people to go after, and so we do want as much. Ooh, these guys were willing to help us before. Womp womp, they're not willing to help us now. Wait, we could just click the thing and they say yes now? Alright, fair enough. Well, so the goal is going to be try and get as many subjects as we can, specifically a Lupa, take a chunk out of Hoysala, and also subjugate Recherla. All these guys we will have discounts on. We do have to worry a little bit about antagonism, but so we won't necessarily like subjugate or go after everyone. Like Kupula we won't go after, Bastar we won't go after, but this is going to be a difficult war. Let's put in our CB as well. I think everything is... Nope, not everything. Something is amiss. There we go. Now everything is correct. And we are putting in the CB. Why does this take us... a Lupa being co-belligerate. So I guess we gotta send out some insults. But it's in July. So Recherla, we're gonna have to eat it. A Lupa, what we could do is we could send them an insult, and this will decrease the cost here. Oh no, it won't. We won't hit new... Oh, I think we will hit a new breakpoint. So we will send an insult. This will get us below a 50-point breakpoint. I think we will be taking less stab hit. Yeah, 5 less, but it's still quite a lot of stab. So that is a little bit unfortunate, but we will make sure we co-CB these guys. Wait, why is this so expensive? Maybe we don't co-CB Lupa, just so we don't have to deal with that, and we just co-CB these guys. Oh. I think we'll just take a smaller chunk from them then, and really just go for Recherla mostly, and not do the additional co-belligerate, and just take the 9 cost on Recherla. Something like this. That's a little bit unfortunate. We don't want to really eat that big a stab hit, I don't think. Actually, let's have a little bit of a think. Alright, I think we're going to go with this. I think we're just going to take the 24 stab hit. We want to subjugate this guy, we want to subjugate this guy, and we're going to take little bits and pieces off of Hoysala, but we really don't want to take an enormous amount. What we really want is we have a split province here, and we want to kind of unify it, so we want to take 3 locations, but not really anything more than that. So I do think that this is probably a pretty good deal in terms of what we're going for. Also, by not co-CBing them, we avoid a couple more belligerents, which maybe makes our life easier. Really kind of uncomfortable taking this 20 stab hit, but we have stab to spare, so we will be going for this. And this is going to be the biggest war we fought in terms of balance of power, because unlike these other wars where we have a bunch of people involved that just aren't actually going to get involved, shout out to Saptogram, everyone's going to get involved here. So we're going to try and, you know, go after one of these guys at a time. Really expecting... Where's Hoysala? Aren't they supposed to be in here? That's a little awkward if they don't join. Did they join? Yeah, they joined. So our fort will be finishing basically as soon as the levies, or as the levies are unifying. We'll just come in here and we will just unify our stacks to reorganize our armies and try and figure this out here. But I'm thinking we go after Alupa quickly, or this guy over here. The main kind of... Actually, we're just going to unify up here, and then we're going to look to go after armies specifically here. So we'll be back once the pieces are more set up. Alright, with everyone mobilized, we get kind of a bit of an idea of what we're working with here. The one army we have to be afraid of is Hoysala, because we have segmented our armies into 2 armies, and that is the one army we can't 1v1. We are going to try and make sure we don't get occupied ourselves. Looks like Hoysala is maybe even separated themselves into 2 segments, so we should be in pretty good shape here, and we are going to try and both siege and also... we're going to be a little bit slow on the assaulting. I don't think we're going to assault these fortresses immediately. We just kind of want to see how this stuff develops and look for picking off straggler armies. So we're going to come down here and look to go after this Hoysala army and try and make sure that we don't get any mega huge clumps that we can't deal with as we try and piece out one guy at a time. I'm thinking we're going to piece out Recherla last, so in terms of plan, and it looks like we have these big guys to the north. I think our subjects in the north here will be able to handle those guys. We do have the subjects over here that just aren't going to get involved, so because they don't have a naval presence to be able to offload it, I don't think. But we are going to just kind of try and clear these guys out and keep everything from getting too out of hand. If they all consolidate onto one mega stack, which the AI doesn't usually do, what will happen is we will just be in really bad shape. And so especially because there's not much outmaneuvering we can do. So we're going to try and avoid that, and also try and avoid our provinces getting occupied, because the occupation will really hurt our prosperity, and so we want to avoid that because it's going to hurt our dev growth. Almost all of your dev growth comes from having positive prosperity, and it gets wrecked really, really quickly in wars. So we see this 16 stack kind of mulling about, and so we'll start heading off to go after that. So we'll go after the 14 stack, the 16 stack, this sort of thing. We don't want them to link up is the biggest thing. Like this, okay. Looks like our allies are doing good work here. We see them actually coming for an occupation on us, so we'll start heading over. And so the idea is we actually could even detach a siege and then do one of these. And then come back. Hopefully the 1k stack doesn't get messed with, but this will free us up. And so it's just going to be this kind of maneuvering around until we get just a very clear advantage in terms of troops on the ground. They will be able to re-raise levies, but if they have these smaller armies marching around, this makes it much easier for our subjects to deal with them. Like you see this 16k stack, it's going to roll over our subjects, and so we want to kind of get these guys off the board and get to sizes that our subjects can manage, and keep our subjects from getting occupied, because then our subjects will be able to do a lot of work, and this is going to be the easiest way for us to like leverage them. We could also put attachments allowed, which just kind of automatically ticks on. This is something that's annoying. Even if you tick it off, it ticks back on. But yeah, I think that we won't need to form mega stacks, because this fight is so spread out that we kind of don't really want subjects attaching. We'll keep an eye on that. If they are attaching and it doesn't look good for us, we'll detach them. But we are just going to kind of clear out. And this is the basic strategy for this that we are going to keep employing in this war. Okay, after clearing out some riffraff, we settled on 2 locations for sieges. We're just letting the sieges go through in both of these locations, so even though they're making progress in the north, we're just going to allow that to happen, and then we're going to go back up and kind of try and deal with it. We do have a couple of regulars, so we can refill this. We have regulars in supply units, and so we can refill the sieges to some extent. And also when we see something like this that is incredibly close, we can just come down and bop them and get them off of this siege. So the AI is generally a lot more aggressive about assaulting forts if there's nobody in it, and so this is one of the reasons why we have just a little bit of auxiliaries kind of supporting our army. We want to first solve the food problem that is currently present, that is a noob food problem, and so to some extent these guys are helping to supply food, but also, you see they're empty, we use them to refill that garrison so that they wouldn't be able to immediately assault, so we would have time to kind of run around without completely losing the occupation. Now, to be fair, they don't have much in the way of regulars, so they won't be refilling the garrisons very well. And so we'll come back here, we'll refill our elephant garrisons, we'll refill our auxiliaries inside of our own territory, and just look to be a little bit centralized, because we did see some units kind of peeking around here, like this guy, who are someone we can go after, and we don't need to push this ourselves just quite yet. Our subjects were likely to try and siege this, and this is getting in the way of anyone trying to reinforce that siege. I think that they can come through here though, it looks like, because this fort has a zone of control, this fort has a zone of control, but you can see there is the empty zone of control there, so that is a little bit of a problem. Once we finish this siege though, we're just going to head down here, and we might even assault down here, just to get these guys out of the war, so that we can get our unit over to greener pastures, somewhere like Hoyala, try and get these guys out of the war, or we maybe just try and get these guys out of the war next. They do have a lot more territory down here. We would love to be able to give Valor a few more things. It looks like we can liberate countries even, and so this is always attractive. If you can liberate one country, you can just take a look at what you can liberate. If you can take one piece of the liberatable country, what you can do is you can use them to feed, you can feed them later with CBs where they try and make a spy network and then go for a reconquest. And so maybe that's actually something that we want from this guy, is just a singular piece of land, and it looks like they would be amenable to that right now. We do want to give this guy something to try and incorporate, so pretty close to him wanting out, and this will also eliminate a pretty major power from this war, and we're going to be doing that in multiple places where we're just looking for a very small ball type of thing on the people who are going to cost a lot of antagonism, and then a much bigger one on the people who are going to cost a lot more antagonism. So this guy, just these 2 provinces is going to be 14. That's a pretty big chunk, but they are strategically useful for us. One, we want this guy to incorporate this place and slowly gain the province. We'll do more in another war against these guys. And 2, this is going to give us the CB for the other war against these guys, where we can feed this guy the rest of the province, and so he can be owning and occupying a relatively large province. Kind of a little bit of a critical battle here. We went back down to siege this province so that we could get what we wanted and get this guy out, and the Hoyala army came for us. This unit has been worn down from several battles. We were looking to, or now we were retreating. We retreated from a battle where they accosted us. We lost about 500 guys. They lost about 500 guys, and then we were trying to link up, but they've intercepted us again. But now it looks like we have help coming. And we are doing okay as the battle kind of begins. Our guys are occupying the front. If things go too sideways, though, we will start retreating. But I think that this reinforcement is going to come in time, that things don't get too bad for us. We can see one of our flanks is falling, so maybe it's going to be a little bit too late. What's the timer on here? 11 on March 12th. I don't know if that makes it in time. We have to survive 2 more days, and our front has fallen here. Now we're going to start eating really big damage, and we're just going to retreat. And we're going to retreat all the way back onto here. We kind of exchanged decently in terms of troops, but we were just going to start taking a ton of flanking damage. Now this is unfortunate, because now both of our allies' stacks get whomped, but we don't care about them as much as we do ourselves. So we are going to link back up with these guys, and we are going to resplit the army, or just have one really big stack army. If we have one really big stack, we can come down to here and maybe get something done. So we will refill the garrison, and we will take this army, and we will go over and go for the Hoyala army kind of all together here. So we're just going to merge these guys up. We are going to not consolidate, but just rebalance. And we're not consolidating because we don't want our our regular troops to consolidate theirs. I wish that there was a consolidate levies only button, but there's not. So we will come this way, and we will start trying to track down that army that is rather large. Actually, let's relieve this siege. The AI won't want to assault it, but sometimes they kind of change their mind on that. So we're just going to come down this way. Just trying to look to stay between 2 points here where we could either deal with this. Yeah, let's go deal with this. Or deal with the other thing. But this guy's going to cause enough mayhem up in the north that we are going to want to go after him. And with a 30 stack, we should be more than able to kind of chase him down and make short work of him. You can see our units engage. We really get in there quickly, and now he's just eating a ton of damage. He takes 3k damage, so really good exchange for us, and we're going to continue kind of doing this. We hope that this guy is able to achieve this siege by himself, because that would be really convenient for getting these people out of the fight. So maybe we have to focus really more on one versus the other. Kind of don't want to, ooh, did we do the wrong thing? No, this is okay. I was thinking maybe we should have had a fort there, but he's only going to get 2 locations and cause some devastation there. That's not the worst in the world. It's not ideal, but we can live with it. And also, this guy's going to be starting to have some war exhaustion over here. We might be able to get the peace we want just from controlling, or just eliminating some of his armies and controlling his capital. His capital is getting unsieged by the fort here. So we either have to be sitting on the capital or sitting on the fort in order for this to happen. So we're going to stand here, and we're going to see. I wish we had better vision on Hoyala, that we could see what was going on in there, because they have the actual troops. It looks like our guys are generally getting the best of them up north, but the Hoyala taking out one of our allies' armies is maybe causing a little bit of damage. I wonder if these guys have shipped anything over. Doesn't look like it. A little bit of lag there. But I think maybe we can get what we want out of these guys, in which case, oh no, we can't. We're not even remotely close. Yeah, they don't like it. They're not a fan. I think that this occupation will need to kind of kick in. So let's go here. And then knowledge is power. Of course, we do love the extra research expenditure in terms of the stab. This guy, this is not a big province. This kind of is a big province. Maybe we should have had a fort on that. That's kind of annoying. We can split up here, but the thing is, we're a little bit worried about a Hoyala army. We're a little bit worried about a Hoyala army. Let's come here first, and then I think we might have to move another guy up. Unfortunate. We'll come here, and then... I like this, actually, because we're keeping the... we'll ransom these guys. We're keeping the 20 stack down here, and they could deal with the Hoyola army, and then if we had consolidated, the unit size would be a little bit different, and then we'll come bring this guy up to kind of minimize the damage up here. We maybe should have had a fort there. A little bit unfortunate. Unfortunate. Ha, ha, so we got the peace deal. We won on these guys a little bit of money, kind of slot everything in to reduce antagonism, both in terms of our Diplo slider and the cabinet action. So this isn't going to affect other people too much, but just mainly getting him out of the way and getting a subject we can release that's a historical subject that will get claims on him. So that is going to work just fine for us. We will be back for more from him later. And so this allows us to just kind of bring our attention back to other stuff. And then also we did notice for our religious figure, man, this guy's good. The good old Bink Bink. He has his trait give literacy and his school give literacy, so that's 10% literacy, so that's really nice. We could also just ignore this entirely, because self-control doesn't move, and this is just to manipulate self-control. We're already where we want to be, unless we don't want to be there anymore, and so we will link up our troops and kind of begin to focus either on Europa or Hoysala. I think if we focus on Hoysala and we look to kind of track their armies, these are our subjects can handle this on our own, on their own, and hopefully they don't just get randomly walloped by a big army, and we can link up our armies, and so to make sure that we just have a big advantage wherever we are. I think that we're good with that kind of strategy there. We really want to find the Hoysala army, though. But they are somewhere in here that we know not where. Looks like, did they peace out our ally for extra territory? That's not exactly what we wanted. Because we wanted this guy to kind of remain a little bit lean. If they become too big, it's going to be difficult to subjugate them. And yes, they're just too big to subjugate. That's a frustrating thing. We wanted them to be just small enough to subjugate, and we don't get it. That is a little bit unfortunate, but we can feed this territory. We can feed this territory to the subject we just made, so maybe this is kind of okay. This also might be releasable to a new subject in some sort of way. So we decided to go for a setup here where we're just going to float one army up here and behind our fort, so they will just be able to take on anything that is smaller than them and just come back, and then the other army we just have join up here because now it's going to be too big for anyone to deal with, and in this way we both get to contain Hoysala and also get to ensure that our next kind of person we're trying to piece out is really easy to go after. We do see that this is happening up here. Our subjects are loyal though, so they can't get separate pieced out, so we don't really have to worry too much about that other than just letting this guy move if he starts to come our way with this army up here in the north. So we are going to get a subject down here, keeping an eye on the antagonism. It doesn't look too bad, mainly on people who we're going to have truces with, and we can always improve relations to get out of this. So that is going to come our way. They are going to be our fiefdom. We will now begin going after Hoysala. I think that the way we're going to do this... can they go through? Alright, they can go through. So we're going to start on this side of things. Actually, you know what? We're going to go deal with the 14 stack that's kind of terrorizing our subjects right now. And so we're just going to send both of our armies up to deal with that, and then we'll come back down and focus on Hoysala. We're saving Returla for last because we want to deal with them last. Also, there is hope for us subjugating these guys. There's hope for us subjugating these guys because your war score cost scales with control. They have a ton of control here. In fact, they are using increased province control up here, but they don't have much control up here, and I think their control might even be dropping. Oh, it's not dropping. It's gonna get better and better. Son of a bizzle. So it's going to actually get more and more expensive to go for the full subjugation on them, which is unfortunate. We were hoping that that was going down, and because they had just acquired it, and the subjugation would get cheaper somewhere. So we've been integrating this for a little bit now, and I think the math is just not mathing here. The amount we're supposed to get from our cabinet action is supposed to be 1.44 base. Now it's going to get modified, and we're going to have negative modifiers here, minus 30%, minus 25%, but something's not really adding up because it says we're only getting 0.36 here from our cabinet action, which is 25% of what we should be getting. So I'm not really entirely sure why the base level is this low, but in any case, I think that we're just going to let this base value integration take the wheel, and also our occasionally rolling a parliament that will give us plus 20%, which is where half of this integration has come from. Normally, it doesn't take anywhere near this long to integrate. We haven't been paying as close attention to it as maybe we should have. We're thinking maybe this is some sort of bug that has to do with the Wars of the Successors of Delhi modifier. I'm really not sure why we're getting minus like 75% on the integration speed. It seems like relative, unless it just got nerfed in the latest kind of right before we got our recordable build version. But in that case, or in this case, I think we're going to switch to develop province and go back to developing Rachar Doab while we continue to rotate this around the increased control for ourselves. So after quite a bit of fighting, our entire fighting force was basically exhausted. We were down to 10k troops, so we disbanded the levies, and then we can re-raise all the levies back up. They do recover. It does take a little bit of time, but it's really not a lot. So if you are starting to run low on troops, you can just kind of up and double dip. And the AI is not very good at this, but once you take out the AI armies, they will kind of raise a bunch of levies back up. And so you do have to be cognizant that an AI with smaller armies is better than an AI with no armies in terms of you being able to exercise your control. But I think we're kind of coming up at the point where we just want to get this war done with, and we're eating a lot of losses, trying to not eat a lot of losses by assaulting. So I think it might be just better to assault and just pick some battles, assault some guys, as one does on a Friday night, and we will be on our way to victory. I think that we're just going to look for, where's this guy's capital? It is over here. So we're just going to come for this guy's capital. We don't really want that much from him, and we also notice that as we occupy these guys, maybe their control has come down. Their control has come down. They stopped using the control province action. This is really good for us because this makes it so that they are less than 100 to subjugate. So this is going to be really good for us. We're going to come down. We're going to, I think, just assault down this fort really quick because we have a massive 50 stack. It's not too expensive, and then take their capital. And after that, they should be, considering their exhaustion level and how many of their guys have been dying, they should be willing to give up something like this as long as we have stuff. And this is really all we want from them, is some money and that. So I think we're going to go for that. In fact, maybe we could get away with just sieging the capital and not lose a bunch of men to the assault. So let's go for this first. But we are on kind of the tail end of things. Also, this does give us a little bit of food. Let's take a look at what we have in terms of the peace deal for these guys. Not quite yet. And so we are going to have to take like 3 assaults to get here, as one does on a Friday night. And so we are just going to assault here. Ooh, assault here. And so we're just going to wait for this to come back up, and then re-assault. Not really too concerned. The assaults happen fast enough that they don't have time to really kind of jump onto our guys. And then what we're going to do is we're going to refill the garrison with our support units, and then have this come on up. Normally we don't use support units, but we have big enough like levies that I think it's actually like useful to use them for Vijayanagar. And so now they're more than happy to do the things. We're nowhere near getting them as a subject, so we are going to first do the slider and then do the cabinet action in order to decrease the amount that we are getting from this war. Oop, that's not the one. We want to decrease the amount of antagonism we are getting. So where is the diplomatic endeavors? There it is. And then we're just going to peel 4 provinces off of them. We're not going to incorporate them anytime soon, unfortunately, if that bug is indeed a bug. So we will go for this. We will go for war reparations. I said we will go for war reparations. Really? Alright, he'll accept this, at least. And then we go for this guy at the very last bit, and we just want subjugation. We don't care about anything else. I suppose we would want money if nothing else is doing, and then we will see that the only person willing to join a coalition against us is them, and they will be ineligible when they are our subject. We cannot send one over max war score. Fair enough. We don't really need to peel the money off of them, but we feel like it. So we do that, and there we have it. A nice, big, kind of situation for ourselves where all of this is subjugated or ours. And so this is quite nice. We have a big foothold here, and then we even have a little bit up here in Bengal. So that's our start / first 50 for Vijayanagar. Carved out a nice little piece for ourselves, really kind of well on our way. We didn't even really talk about, but we do have an eventual formable that is extremely strong in the form of Bharat / India, which gets some pretty good bonuses that are really worth having. But by the time you get this, if you unify all of India, you've kind of won the game. There's not really anyone who could stand up against you. Proximity cost is extremely strong, artillery power, and then production efficiency. And this stacks with the RD power you already have, so that's plus 20%. And so that is quite strong. As you can see, a lot of it is just off the back of the insane power you have, the insane resources you have, and also like the provincial situation. While this is not like super like over-informing why this is so explosive, because you're explosive on Japan as well, which doesn't have like these huge provinces, it is a part of it. And so we went up to, making 500 from 19, and then our tax base was at 80 at game start, and now it is over 1,000. Coming up pretty linearly, although we are going to stall out here because we're starting to run out of profitable opportunities for buildings, this type of stuff, and we're also running out of places to urbanize and expand that we want to urbanize and expand, at least until we start annexing people. So that's kind of where things sit. In terms of long-term plans, we will eventually get these guys integrated. I think we'll generally focus on the south more for now, or kind of in the near-ish future, rather than pushing north, because we really want to give these two opportunity to cook. We may even go for Goa and Bamani, integrations on them first, and then also we have been kind of taking note of and paying attention to, but the institutions are starting to spread to Mecca. We have a ton of trade with Mecca, or potential to trade with Mecca, and so we should be able to secure ourselves some institutions once they get there, and also spread meritocracy from over here. So things are pretty good. Very, very strong country, has a lot of pops, good resources in a pretty good geographical space, and also good opportunities to expand, courtesy of Delhi kind of being in a rough spot at game start. And now they're on one province. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You know, do the YouTube algorithm thing. You can also, if you want to support the channel, use our code for purchasing the game if you have not already, and or for other Paradox games. If you use our code, you won't get a discount, but you will send 12% of the sale our way. Make sure you check whatever currency you have, that it is the same price on both Steam and the website. You go on the official website, you use code GENERALIST in all caps, and this is a way to help out the channel. But if you're not on USD, there's a good chance the prices will be different on the website versus on Steam. So maybe worth checking in either way, at least if you are going to pay full price for the game. Anyways, other than all that, you guys have a good one. Bye-bye now.